So everyone's having the same problem. But
yeah, anybody that was
pretty funny.
I feel like anybody that was in market. They did, of course, eventually show a replay of it, but it was just, and thank goodness, by the way, thank goodness it was a home run for the Royals, because at least that one, like, you can joke about it. If it was the Giants hitting a go-ahead home run, then you're pissed.
Then you're just also annoyed. Versus, I'm like, all right, a Vinny homer, yay!
Yeah, it's a little bit different in that case. But the story, though, on the serious note from last night, I think is clearly yet again what they continue to get from Chris Bubich, because he was stellar. He had a no-hitter at one point in time. Then there was a little bit of the controversy with the Massey error/hit. It ended up being ruled a hit. Ultimately, that was not the only hit of the game, so it didn't become an even bigger deal. But Chris Bubich has the 4th lowest ERA in all of baseball now after he pitched last night. He has a 1.47 ERA. He's tied for 5th, I guess, as well. He's tied with a pitcher for the Rangers as well. But last night, 7 innings, 2 hits, 3 walks, 5 Ks. He's been their best pitcher in 2025, and what a turnaround for his career this has been. We saw glimpses last year of why everybody's starting to get excited again, but you think about where he was once at and viewed as a prospect and everything, and now he's pitching like the guy everybody hoped he could have been or would be. And he's 5-2 with a 1.47 ERA. He is only behind guys like Max Fried and Hunter Brown in terms of ERA. He still somehow is 40-1 to win Cy Young. I think there's some reason behind that. Innings limitation maybe catches up to him later on in the season. But that's pretty amazing right now, man. When Reagans and Lugo are unavailable, and when Reagans hasn't had that great of a year to this point in time by his standard, who steps up? Michael Lorenzen's done it, and Chris Bubich has stepped up and been one of the best pitchers in all of baseball, and we're a week away from Memorial Day.
So Chris Bubich obviously didn't really start for the Royals last year because of the not in the major league level, because the pitching limit that you're mentioning and coming off the injury and all this other stuff. But this is back-to-back guys that were drafted by Dayton Moore, that they had a lot of high hopes in Brady Singer and Chris Bubich. They eventually found some major league success in working around what they are. Chris Bubich is a very serious Cy Young contender now. I'm not saying he's the favorite, nor should he be the favorite. Yeah. There are guys who have significantly better odds to win the award, including Scooble, who, that makes sense, or Garrett Crochet, or some of the other names that you would expect to be near the top of the Cy Young award-winning list.
His numbers are better than some of those guys. That's not how this usually works, because this early on with the odds market, because there's the expectation, hey, I've seen Scooble do it for a full year, and people are going to want to see if Chris Bubich can keep it up. If you think he can keep it up, you can get a 40-1 bet on him. He's actually, no joke, Cody, literally in the last 20 minutes, the odds have changed. He was 40-1 when we last checked this. He's now 32-1. So his odds have improved from 40-1. I guess
everyone decided to go bet it.
He's got the same odds as Brian Wu, who's a pitcher out in Seattle, and then he's behind for the AL Cy Young, Jacob deGrom, Valdi, Crochet, Max Fried, Hunter Brown, and then Scooble. Those are guys in front of him. And he's got, again, it's not that he doesn't have better numbers than some of them. It's just some of it's name recognition, too. I bet you outside of Kansas City, and he's got a chance to change this by if he keeps pitching this well. Outside of Kansas City, how many people know the name Chris Bubich? And that's where the odds market is right now.
That's why. That's part of the reason why. But again, like you said, if he keeps pitching like this, everyone will know his name by the end of the year. He is pitching, and none of this is like not sustainable, what he's doing, right? The strikeouts are there. The innings are there. This is the thing that'll actually really hold up. Like, he's not walking too many hitters, not giving up home runs, all the things you would worry about over the course of time. The thing that's going to hurt him is what you mentioned, which is if you bet him to win the Cy Young and August 15th hits and they're trying to manage his innings, then what do you do? And if you're the Royals, if he's going to pitch like this all year, you have to save those innings in the middle of the year, because I sure as hell don't want somebody pitching like this not available in the postseason, Gold.
Right.
Like, you got to manage it kind of in the middle.
And that's where I wonder if they'll try to steal a start at some point. Well, the only way you can do that, though, you need a healthy Lugo and Reagans in your rotation, because if you're already down 2 guys in your rotation, you can't skip a Chris Bubich start. So at some point, I think they would like to be able to steal one by skipping them and save 7 innings here, save 7 innings there kind of thing for what you're saying, which is if this team is in the postseason like we all hope they're going to be, you obviously would want this guy be in your, game 2 start, whatever. That's whatever you would want to lay out for your rotation. He would obviously be a huge part of that, the way he is pitching. He's been one of the best pitchers in all of baseball, and he did it, of course, in front of a lot of family, I know, last night too. there at Oracle Park. And what was a fun game, I know, some people were like, there's not a lot of offense, it's boring. And obviously the offense continues to still be a problem. But that was a hell of a baseball game last night. That was a great game.
Royals win every
Robbie
game
Ray
2-1 or 3-1.
Yeah.
They have 11 wins this year, scoring 3 or less runs. 11? That's way too many. It's also impressive for what it's worth. And I'm with you. I thought the game was entertaining despite that. Look, Robbie Ray and Chris Bubich have been 2 of the better pitchers in baseball this year. So when I go in expecting a pitcher's duel, it's easier to swallow. Look, when it's no-name Jack Smith from whatever's team making, with his career 6.5 ERA, and he's carving up the Royals, I'm not enjoying myself as much. When it's Robbie Ray, I don't have nearly as big of an issue. This is what, again, what stands out the most about it is that last year they had 2 guys finish in the top 5 in the Cy Young. Those guys are unavailable. And this year they have another guy who looks like he is barreling towards, finishing towards the top 5 in the Cy Young. Now, it's very early still. He's only about 30% of the way, a third of the way or whatever through his season. But at this point, he's been one of the 3 best starters in all of baseball. And so, yeah, that was it. There was other 2 notes in the game that I really did enjoy. One was Q getting tossed. I'm pro getting tossed.
Yep.
I'm pro fighting. I'm going to ask JJ Picollo about it. I'm curious if he's pro fight. He's such a level-headed guy. There's no way. He reminds me probably more like Vinny. I bet he's not, because Vinny's not much of a fighter. We've talked to him about this before. He's not trying to cause a dust-up, even though he did go over on the dirty slide, we think, and at least say a couple of words.
Yeah.
But so, a little
Q was correct last night.
Oh, he was.
The plate was blocked, but you can't challenge it. You can't, quote-unquote, argue it, and that'll get you tossed, and that's fine. I think, though, the one thing that continues to just be unacceptable while this team is winning, I understand they won last night, the base running is just absolutely abysmal. There's some times where, a little bit of bad luck. I understand. Sometimes it's a hard line out and you're just caught in a bad spot. But it's happening game in and game out. Game in and game out. There's somebody. It's not always the same person. There's a few guys it's happened to more than once.
It was Blanco and Renfro, and there was a couple.
And if you are going to struggle the way they are offensively, you cannot give up free outs on the base paths. And that is, of course, what happened again last night. Fortunately, they were able to recover, and Vinny hits the home run. Tonight, by the way, Michael Lorenzen going up against Birdsong. So another decent pitching matchup, 2.31 ERA for Birdsong this year. Now, I don't know I don't think he's pitched that many innings so far for them. But
okay, so I'm guessing he's going 7 shutout. Look, based on just the way that it's going right now on offense, it just is what it is. We hope that it doesn't exist that way, but at least they're not letting it get back. For as quickly as yesterday, Gold were like, they're in 4th place in the division. Well, they're in 2nd. They're tied for 2nd place in the division today. The Tigers lost last night. The Guardians lost last night. The Twins lost. Everybody you needed to lose lost last night.
Yeah, I guess Birdsong actually 23 1/3 innings so far. He's got 25 strikeouts. Just a 1-0 record. That's who the Royals will go up against tonight.
I guess I'll stay up again. I kind of like staying up for these West Coast games now that they're only 2.5 hours. Does that move the needle? Does that help anybody?
It helped last night. Like, it was quote unquote late, and a lot of people totally understand if you went to bed. Once that game was over, I immediately turned off the TV and went to bed. It was like I was waiting, and that was it. Once Estevez got the save, I was done. It was time to go to bed.
Did you even hear Hud say?
No.
You saw Estevez get the out, and you're
strike out, and I was out. Strike out, and I was done.
Man, you can fall asleep that quick?
I was
up
out
for another
within
90 minutes after that.
I
couldn't go to bed.
I think I was probably out within 5 to 10 minutes. That's all I can remember.
And then the storms woke me up in the middle of the night. They were so loud. Yeah.
No, I slept right
Getting
through.
old, man.
I slept right through.
Dude, it got loud as hell at like 3 in the morning.
Did it? I'm not even joking. Did I? I had no idea.
Back me up, Drew.
Strong thunder.
House shakingly loud at 3 in the morning. I cannot possibly be the only person.
No, I'm sure you're not. I slept through. Dog woke me up for her normal whatever to go out to the bathroom like at 4:30 in the morning. I let her out real quick.
I was getting old, man. She got like a small prostate.
This whole thing, I'm serious. So it has shifted
up in the middle of the night
in the last 6 months, and she's getting older, so I do think unfortunately that's a big part of it. But before, she would wake up at like 6:15 or 6:30. I'd let her out, I'd feed her, and then I'd hop back in bed for like 40 minutes or whatever. Now it's a 4:15 or a 4:30, sometimes a 3:30 in the morning thing, and it's not fun, But I usually can go back to sleep pretty quick. So
it was loud last night. I mean, I don't know. Someone said, yeah, I woke up at 3 a.m. as well. Someone said,
Drew's used to the house shaking at random hours. That's true. That's true. Drew's
different energy.
Drew's apartment does have that at times. We've definitely
a little more attuned to
established that. Mm-hmm.
This last night though was the 3 a.m. You're right, Cody. It was the way that my apartment complex works too. Is it's almost like the sound is funneled in between all the buildings because it's not. The buildings form a rectangle essentially. So if there's sound below, like down or in between, it stays there. So the thunder was reverberating
it's
off
different
the
part of
buildings.
town, maybe.
It felt like it shook my house around 3 a.m.
Yeah. Different part of town, or I just slept through it. One of the two. I'm not sure.
There was a branch in my front driveway.
Was what it was.
Yeah. There was a branch in my front driveway from a maple tree, which I only have in my backyard. So it went like over the house.
Yeah, I had the power like at, I don't know, you guys, 5-ish, 5:15, the lights flickered twice or something, and that was it. That was as far as like an actual problem with the storms last night. Other than that, it was fine. I know it was way worse. There was some serious flooding going on, flash flooding going on some of the highways in the area. The
normal 35,
normal flood-prone areas of the city that we're all used to at this point in time. But other than that, yeah, I didn't lose power. It just kind of flickered a little bit.
No, I didn't lose it either, thankfully. I know a bunch of people did, just not you or I guess, or Drew. Apartments always feels like they should be on a bigger grid. I used to when I lived in Waldo's when I lost power way more. I don't feel like in this house. I feel like I've lost it like one time. I don't know.
Yeah.
A different grid or a different part of the city.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like when I lived there, it was like 4 times a year I'd lose power.
Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll get right back into the Royals with the general manager and the vice president of baseball ops, JJ Picollo. He joins us every couple weeks here on the show, and we do have a ton to get into with him, including what happened in the last couple of days with the minor league level with Mazzucato and, of course, Kags getting promoted. So that's coming up in just a bit. Meanwhile, with the Chiefs a little bit, our friends over at Arrowhead Pride, we're going through basically the breakdown of expectations of each division in football, and they were alluding to a few articles that were out there about this division challenge, and Adam Schefter and some others basically with their assessment of the challenge the Chiefs are going to have to deal with in their own division. And is this the toughest AFC West that Patrick Mahomes will face in his time as the starting quarterback to this point in time? We know the Chiefs have dominated this division. They're chasing down the Patriots AFC East record, trying to see if they can get that. They are a couple years away from being able to do that, but 6 straight division titles, or 7 straight division titles, right?
So I guess the way I view this is the answer is probably yes. Like, it's kind of hard to argue otherwise, because this has got to be on aggregate the best quarterback play as a collection they've gone up against. Geno Smith is a superior upgrade to what they were running out of quarterback last year for a 4-win Raiders team. Broncos, let's say, are the same. Even if the Broncos and the Raiders or the Broncos and the Chargers are the same, the Raiders are significantly better on paper just at quarterback alone and at coach alone, if you add nothing else into the mix and have no question about it. But I'll say, I think that there's been years in which it's been harder at the 2 and 3 spot than this year. Because while maybe this isn't the toughest, they've had a couple of good quarterbacks in the division at the same time that caused problems. Derek Carr has at times at some point threatened a division against them,
Yeah, by the way, 9 straight AFC West titles. I think I said 7. The quarterbacks in this conference and in this division in particular now, I do think you could argue with where the coaching and QB combo pairing is as good as we've seen. You're right. Derek Carr, when he was playing at his best, was the second best quarterback in this division. But you have Herbert paired with Harbaugh, who has a proven track record of success in the NFL. Yeah. You have Bo Nix, who looks like he's going to be a very nice starter in this league. I still think his ceiling is fairly low, but he's going to be a very nice starter in this league. And he's paired with a coach that's got a ring and has had success. And then we know Pete Carroll's had success, and he's paired with a quarterback in Geno, who I don't think Geno has been as good the last 2 years. His first year in Seattle, he was great. Last year, I think he was fine.
He was pretty good, yeah.
He was fine. But fine, by the way, is better than most of these teams in this division over this stretch of 9 years that they've won the AFC West.
I'm trying to go back through it. What was the year you thought they were closest to losing it under Mahomes, I guess, is part of it? That year where Derek Carr beat him on a Thursday night late in the season? I mean,
Probably would be the year where Mahomes missed a couple games due to an injury very early on in his tenure, right? I mean, at that point, you knew he was good, but you're still in the early stages, not knowing how dominant they were going to be. maybe that was it. I'm bad with the exact years from a divisional perspective.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and look in particular. I think just from a
From
quarterback
a record standpoint, it would be one of those like 12-5 years
Sure.
or something, maybe like in 2021.
I look at it more of just who's the coaches and the quarterbacks. Who do you actually consider a threat if there is anybody that's going to be a threat? And that's where I would look at this year certainly compared to last year or the year before. I mean, this is not that I think the Raiders are winning 9 games and the Chargers are winning 12 and the Broncos are winning 10, and so everybody's going to be above X amount. I just think if we were being honest with ourselves with the quality of QB play, there's at least a baseline I think everybody's going to get.
Yeah, I agree.
It doesn't mean that there's a Josh Allen in their division. Of course not. But I think now this year, nobody's starting Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew. No offense to him. He's now back up in Kansas City. But nobody's starting those guys. They're starting legitimate starting quarterbacks in this league.
Guys who are getting paid money. I went back. 2021 appears to be maybe the closest for all the teams, I guess. The Chiefs went 12-5. Raiders 10-7. That was the year they beat them on the Thursday night. It made it kind of close, I guess, a little bit late in the season. Chargers were 9-8, and the Broncos were 7-10. So all the teams were at least respectable, but I don't expect it to be way harder than that. One of the 4 teams in this division is going to be 7-10. One of these teams is going to be, and it's probably the Raiders, right? In fairness,
yeah,
it's probably them again, and that they won't get up and running fully in year 1, and Ashton Genty can't just ride them into a 10-win, 11-win season. I still think the biggest problem with saying this is the most difficult, and this is where they'll always run into this problem. Yeah, it's more difficult than the AFC East, but there's still a sizable drop-off between Patrick Mahomes and, at the very least, Bo Nix and Geno. And, depending on where you want to put Herbert in there as well.
Yeah, by the way, where would you rank out the quarterbacks real quick? Not what we think their careers are going to be. Right now, Herbert is still the second best quarterback.
Herbert, Geno, Bo Nix. After Mahomes.
Ooh, see, I would actually put Geno. So I would flip Geno and Bo. I think the way Geno played last year, that level is not any better than Bo Nix. Now, have I seen better years out of Geno? Yes. Can he get back to that is the question. I'm not sure he can. I think, Bo Nix, ceiling-wise, as I said, is low. But if we're just basing off what I saw in the last calendar year, Herbert would be the second best quarterback in the division, then Bo Nix, then Geno. But Geno has a chance with Brock Bowers and Pete Carroll again and all that to try to show that they can. I think Geno is just, he got paid. Good for him. He revitalized his career. Got paid twice now, I guess. And he last year was a very, very average quarterback in Seattle.
He was, and I guess this might just go back to the thing that, if you make me rank out how things typically go in the NFL, Bo Nix, to me, is one of the 5 most likely regression candidates at the quarterback position. That would be a very common turn from year 1 to year 2, and everybody gets tape on you. And even if, the Broncos are going to require everyone in their offensive line to stay healthy. They had the best offensive line in football last year.
And they'll have that again, though, this year.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
presumably.
You know what I mean? They have the same players, I should say. I don't know if they'll be the best. But
So, the question for me is always, the way the Chiefs, the injuries are kind of an ebb and a flow. You lose one guy in there, what does it look like? How does Bo handle a little bit of pressure? Those things, I still got a little bit of question about. We'll see. I'm not anti yet. I would rank them. I'd say it's close. I'm not saying, Geno's way better than Bo. I would just still probably technically rank
I wonder if it's
Geno
a little bit
better
harder, not because of the not even because of the quarterback stuff, but because of the coaches and the way that they've continue to build the teams around the quarterbacks. If we just go off of last year alone, the Raiders were competitive at times, but they weren't that great. They already upgraded, of course, in Geno, but they get Ashton Genty, continue to add a little bit. They re-sign Max Crosby. The Chargers only got a little bit better. They've already had the quarterback, already had the coach. Broncos got better on the defensive side of the ball, as well as some of the things that they did on offense as well. It feels like this is just in terms of memory, not necessarily because, yes, Derek Carr, I think, is better than Geno Smith was or better than Bo Nix is, and probably as good as Justin Herbert has been in terms of production in one single season. But I think it's more of the outlook of what the teams look like that makes this actually really difficult for the Chiefs in comparison to years past in terms of winning the division. I think we easily could see 2 AFC West teams make it again, and it could be 10-7, 10-7, and 11-6 or 12-5, as the division winner.
I might just be too comfortable. I still think the Chiefs are going to win the division by 2 or 3 games every year.
I think they'll win
every year. I don't know. Maybe it's not that, but
my my thing has been, okay, if you think the Chiefs are going to win fewer games, and I do, they're not going to win 15 this year. Okay, let's
13.
say you even think they lose 3 or they win 3 fewer. Okay, that's 12. The Chargers won 11, the Broncos won 10. So you're still saying in that scenario the Chiefs are regressing by 3 wins, and the Chargers have to improve by potentially 2 to win it outright, 1 to force a tiebreaker. The Broncos have to improve by 2 to force a tie in this hypothetical, 3 to win it outright. Like, that's my struggle. The Chiefs can regress by 3. The Chargers, to win it outright, have to win, improve by 2. And by the way, 2 from 11 to 13, that's a big jump. So that's where, I still think the Chiefs are winning this division. I don't know if they win it by 2 or not, Cody, but I just, we've gone through this year after year, and I understand that the Chiefs for the next decade will not, the next decade are not going to win it, okay? The Patriots didn't do it. The Chiefs are not going to win 20 straight division titles. I fully understand that. But Mahomes is still in his prime. Andy Reid is still coaching. Kelsey's still on this team. Chris Jones is not 36 years old yet. There's too many things here where this is, to me, not the year where it happens.
I think it was the Chargers ahead of the Broncos last year, correct? The Chargers were higher.
They won 11. They won 11 games.
That makes me think that Denver is the one. If there is a team that's going to beat the Chiefs in the division, I actually think it's the Broncos, because the way the third place schedule would line up compared to the second, plus the defense, and you mentioned the offensive line. In terms of positional grouping, the Broncos, I think, might have a stronger
they had a really
defense,
good roster,
stronger O-line than the Chargers
the
do.
Broncos' defense is legit, for sure.
I don't know who Bo Nix is throwing to a lot of times. Like, I'm still not impressed by their weapons.
Vele is the guy.
Vele, like, if you're even mentioning that.
Vele and Sutton still, right? I don't think they added anybody in Troy Franklin, I guess. I don't know if they added anybody.
The wide receiver room for the Denver Broncos heading into the season. Cortland Sutton, obviously, is the headliner. He's legit. Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims, Devon Vele or whatever, Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant, Trent Sherfield Jr., Evan Ingram they did bring in at the tight end.
Yeah.
And who's their running back? Because they lost Javonte.
They drafted what's his name? Oh my gosh, RJ Harvey. Yeah.
Right.
RJ Harvey.
UCF.
Did you guys see that whole thing? RJ Harvey, Sean Payton sent out a tweet, it was something like his daughter approves of the pick or something like that. It was like a weird Facebook or Twitter
thing
post.
to say?
Yeah. Because his daughter was interviewing RJ Harvey or something.
Oh, got it.
But
okay.
the way it was done was a little weird. But anyway,
sounds a
RJ Harvey,
bizarre.
Omar. We got a bunch of young running backs. And this was our whole issue with the Chiefs backfield, but whatever. Hampton, Harvey, Genty, 3 new running backs, obviously, as we know.
Everybody go. I told you, same plan. Let's do it again. Veteran coach. Now we all got our running back. What else are you guys going to do next year? You guys want to? They have like a cookout together and try to like collude with one another to try to figure out some way to beat the Chiefs in this division for the first time in a decade.
All right, coming up next, we get right back into the Royals with the general manager of the Royals, JJ Picollo. We'll ask him why now is the right time to promote Cags to AAA. We'll also try to figure out a little bit more about potential timeline on a couple guys that are on the IL. That's coming up right here on Cody and Gold.
Watch Cody and Gold on YouTube by subscribing to the 96.5 YouTube channel. Cody and Gold is brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
The other place, Shawnee, Olathe, downtown Overland Park, Mission, and Belton have lots of big screens, great food, and beer specials. Plus, patio season is coming up soon. The Other Place is your home for baseball this spring. The Other Place and theotherplace.com.
I've had a number of surgeries, and frankly, I don't have time to rehab a surgery and an operation at this point in my life. I didn't want to take time off my kids' activities.
That's why former college and pro football player Bobby Carpenter turned to QC Kinetics. We couldn't be happier saving our patients like him from operating rooms and long recoveries.
They will resume like normal activity for me, which is a lot of running. It's a lot of workouts. I've been very, very blessed with how it's been able to hold up.
For so long, patients have accepted surgery as the only solution. But with new technologies, the medical professionals at QC Kinetics use regenerative treatments, your body's own biologics, to help heal and restore knees, hips, shoulders, and backs.
I actually ran into a friend of mine over at our golf course, and he had his knee done. It felt so well. He got his shoulder done. He goes, I can't thank you enough. He had heard the commercial on the air, and so it's feeling great.
Find out how you can avoid surgery and finally get relief. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. 816-412-6299.
I'm McCall from Lee Summit Subaru, and we're committed to helping our community through the Subaru Love Promise, like our commitment to Hillcrest Transitional Housing to help solve homelessness. Lee Summit Subaru also sponsors several pet adoption clinics like Midwest Animal Rescue and events each year, such as Dogtoberfest. It's all part of the Subaru Love Promise, and we're committed to helping our community fall in love with driving again at Lee Summit Subaru. LeeSummitSubaru.com.
In 1950, my great-grandpa started Gunter Pest Control, and 75 years later, we're still Kansas City's highest-rated team of local experts. With decades of experience, our team has perfected the treatment plan to keep your home free from bugs, rodents, and termites. Gunter protects your home, but also the environment. Our treatments are safe for pets and kids, and our electric service vehicles are charged in our solar-powered garage. Go Gunter, go green.
GiveMeTheVin.com is already the best place to sell your car, and now it's even better with the GiveMeTheVin.com Big Cash Giveaway. Give Me The Vin is giving away $25,000 in cash every month. Sell us your car to increase your odds of winning big cash. No purchase necessary. For official rules, go to GiveMeTheVin.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Well, Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can get a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. It all starts with an online intake form. Get started at hims.com/joy, and from there, a medical provider licensed in your state will determine if ED treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is shipped to you for free. Find the ED treatment that fits your needs with options up to 95% less than the brand names. Millions of men experience ED, but Hims can help. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
Not available in all states. Rates vary.
Building a financial safety net for your family can be tough, but with term life insurance through Ethos, you can have peace of mind that they can pay the mortgage and other bills if something happens to you. With coverage in as little as 10 minutes, all online, Ethos finds your best rate across their multiple trusted carriers. Some policies as low as $1 a day billed monthly. And even in uncertain times, your term life insurance rates and payout don't change. Get a free quote at ethos.com/win. That's ethos.com/win.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen 1 too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, cause you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Here is your Game of the Week, presented by Hyundai. After some exciting acquisitions in the baseball offseason, New York shares the spoils of their side of the standings with the powerhouse of Los Angeles. However, the two teams will face off in a 3-game series when Los Angeles travels to Queens to take on a team who is set on cementing their place atop the league. Do you think astronauts fight over elbow room? Probably, because advanced tech doesn't always mean more space. Until now. Introducing the Hyundai Ioniq 9, a 3-row electric SUV with over 300 miles of range, ultra-fast charging capability, and lots of space. The all-new Hyundai Ioniq 9, space in an EV. Visit HyundaiUSA.com or call 562-314-4603 for more details. PA estimated range for Ioniq 9 based on fully charged battery. For comparison purposes only. Actual range will vary based on several factors. Introducing the all-electric Ioniq 9, space for up to 7, range for miles.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Just getting started here on a Tuesday. It's Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll get to the latest on the NFL meetings going on today, including what sounds like a push from Roger Goodell to get the playoffs reseeded. I told you, I'm not a huge fan of it, but we'll get into that. Plus, it seems like there's been some alteration with the Tush push. I I guess, to get it removed from the game, and then what that could mean for the Philadelphia Eagles moving forward. So we'll get to that coming up in just a bit. But let's talk some Royals baseball. They, of course, are out in San Francisco. They got the win last night, and we are joined by the general manager and the vice president of baseball ops, JJ Picollo. He joins us every couple weeks here on 96.5 The Fan. Good morning, JJ. Appreciate you joining us. Obviously want to get to last night and where this big league team is at. But for starters, let's just get it out of the way here because people were wondering what changed, I guess, and what was what did you guys see from Kags? Why was now the right time to promote him up to AAA?
Yeah, well, to be honest, nothing changed. He just continued to dominate AA baseball. You know, it was really good to see. He's, we all know he hits the ball extremely hard, and that's his, superpower. But we started to see some improvement in some of the decisions he was making on what pitches to hit and what pitches to lay off. And quite honestly, the level just wasn't good enough for him the way he was playing over an extended period of time. So we thought it was time for him to take the next step. With AAA, the pitching's better. Pitchers can game plan, but more importantly, follow a game plan better than AA pitchers because they're older, smarter, more experience, and that's the right next step in his journey to the big leagues.
When you guys drafted him last summer, I mean, if I would have told you then, like the ideal quote-unquote timeline even just to get to AAA, like is this kind of best case scenario for him to get up to AAA this quickly?
Absolutely. I mean, it's, over however many years I've done this, I don't know how many players that we've had in their first full season that go to AA and just really dominate the league and now are in AAA. Obviously, Brandon Finnegan back in 2014 was a different situation. He was a pitcher, and we brought him right to the big leagues pretty much after a stop in AA. But this is the first that I can recall, and just happy that he's doing what he's doing. I mean, a lot of credit goes to our scouting department in identifying Jack with the 6th pick last year and have a lot of confidence in moving forward and selecting him. And Jack has exceeded expectations. We knew he was good, but until he gets out there and plays, you don't know how good he really is or how long it's going to take for him to get to AAA. But certainly he's on a fast track, clearly.
I know even in the front office, as you're getting a little bit of the comparison game, like our morning show host mentioned Adam Dunn. What, for you guys, who do you kind of envision Jack Caglianone, who does he remind you of in the big league levels? Is there anybody that he kind of comps to?
Yeah, I mean, Adam Dunn I can see because of the power, but Jack is going to be a more complete hitter than Adam. Adam struck out a lot. I mean, very good major league player. I think he's going to be able to control the zone better than that. Honestly, like what we hope he develops into, and I'm not saying this is who he is, this is what we would like to see is some version of a Pete Alonso. I mean, that's, a left-handed version of Pete Alonso. Pete makes a lot of good plate decision or pitch decisions. He's got massive power. He's turned himself into a pretty good defender at first base. I mean, and coincidentally, those two went to the same high school, so it's kind of weird. But that would be excellent for us, and really, the thing we don't want Jack to do is to try to be anybody but himself. I know that the comp game, we do it in the scouting world all the time, and it's just part of it. But Jack needs to be himself, whatever version of Jack that it allows him to be the best major league player he can be. That's what we'd be happy with that.
Funny enough, we learned about Pete Alonso when we ripped some baseball cards with him. Were you a baseball card guy at all, JJ?
Growing up, very much so. Not as much here in the last 15, 20 years, but as a kid, I was at card shows pretty much every Saturday somewhere.
Do you still have a couple of things from your collection as a kid?
Oh yeah. No, I do. I got a ton of stuff.
Is there one or two cards that? Go ahead.
COVID allowed me to go back and look through all those cards and kind of file them better, like a lot of people did during COVID.
Yeah, no, the card market boomed during COVID for sure. Is there a card or two that I guess you just right away you're like, this whether it's the quote unquote best card or maybe it just has some real sentimental value or something.
Yeah, I've got a '64 top set, postcard set that there's some Hall of Famers in there, so that set stands out. Mike Schmidt rookie card just because he was my hero growing up. So they're the two, and when you ask that question, come to mind right away.
Let's talk about the big league club. Let's start with Chris Bubich last night. We've already, at some point this year, talked to you about why you guys maybe felt comfortable trading Brady Singer and Chris Bubich being a part of that. But even to this point, he, I mean, is a legitimate Cy Young candidate, JJ, based on the early performance this season. What has made him so dominant in your mind?
Well, first of all, he's commanding the ball exceptionally well. He's got above average stuff. He's got 3 pitches, and when you're commanding those 3 pitches, it's hard as a hitter to defend against that. And last night he had that backdoor breaking ball going that really just froze a lot of hitters, and he was landing it very, very consistently. And when pitchers can do those types of things, they got a chance to have great outings. But with Chris, he's always been a guy that prepares well, studies well, very intelligent guy. And, a lot of what we saw before he got injured and then what we saw last year out of the bullpen is what gave us the confidence that we could count on him to be in the rotation. Now, did we expect him to be pitching to a 1.74 or whatever it is right now? Probably not. But we expected him to pitch well, and we had a lot of confidence that he would. I think what he's doing right now, I mean, it's really, really exceptional. After the game last night, I think you have asked me this question before, is he have an innings limit on the year? Right now he's on pace to throw about 195 innings on the year. But the real reason why that he's on that pace is he's been so efficient with his pitches, even in striking guys out, that he's getting deep into games. Usually guys that strike hitters out, their pitch counts get high. It's more of a 5 to 6 inning, but he's been so efficient with his pitches that he's getting into the 7th inning regularly. And we had a hard time after the game trying to come up with innings where he was really, really in heavy traffic. He got in some traffic last night, but he hasn't had a stressful inning the entire season. So he's just matured as a pitcher. Obviously we're very happy that he's done that. And, we look forward to him pitching every 5th day.
We're talking to JJ Picollo here on 96.5 The Fan. Obviously, in the last week, you guys did have to put Cole Reagans and Seth Lugo both on the IL. Do you have any indication at all on where the timeline could be for both? I know they're 2 completely separate injuries involving each player.
Yeah, we feel very confident that it's, very likely. I mean, who knows what can happen, during these 15 days, but right, if we were betting on this, we would expect them to pitch in 2 weeks. They'll get their 15 days. With Cole, it was just really a fatigue tightness issue. It wasn't a re-injury to his groin. And with Seth, he's got a little swelling in his finger that has already gone down. And we expect them to make their starts, I think it's the end of June or end of May, early June, when they can come off the IL. And we would be disappointed if they weren't able to make those starts. So luckily they're minor, and we felt like at this point, this is about the entire season. Let's not push through these things and potentially lose them for even more time.
Because of the off days, can you guys get away with a bullpen game? Is there somebody else in AAA you'd look to? I know you guys just brought in Rich Hill or Avila. I didn't know who you guys were thinking there.
Yeah, no, we'll see how tonight goes. But, we didn't use the bullpen much last night. Sunday we used 4 relievers, but it was very minimal pitches for each guy. So we're in a position to potentially go bullpen tomorrow. But if we're not able to do that, we'll have to decide who's going to come up. And we have a couple options for that. It's just a matter of, I still think regardless, it'll be a day where we use 5, maybe 6 innings out of the bullpen, regardless of who comes up. So we'll probably just take who we think is our best arm from Omaha.
Cody mentioned Rich Hill, so I wasn't planning on asking you about him, but he's 45 years old. Obviously, it's an unbelievable story. Last week, everybody, at least listener-wise, everybody's like, well, where did this come from? Yeah, I'll just ask you, what's the story behind what you guys see there, and potentially what could that mean?
Well, for one, we had some injuries, I'll say, in AAA where we didn't have the depth in our rotation in AAA that we feel good about, So we were looking for a starting pitcher, and we have a special assistant named Dave Wallace. You might be familiar with him, but a long-time Major League pitching coach with the Dodgers, Red Sox. Dave is a special assistant for us and has a lot of history with Rich Hill from Rich's Boston days, and he reached out to Dave Wallace and said, I've been throwing, and sent Dave some video, and Dave's very familiar with him. So we thought it was an opportunity. It's hard, when you need arms, it's hard to get your hands on arms. You look at other teams, they're not trading guys just because you need some pitching depth. So here was a guy that's got experience. Dave's very familiar with him. And Rich was willing to go to AAA. So he's in Arizona right now getting built up, and not sure what the timeline is for him to get to Omaha, but it shouldn't be too long.
Are you ever impressed by like someone's competitiveness? Like at 45, he's certainly earned enough, JJ. He doesn't have to keep working at it. And he's like, you know what? I'll go to Omaha. I just want to pitch.
Yeah, no, that's pretty special. He has no reason to continue to pitch with the career that he's had, but obviously there's a love for the game. He feels like he can still perform at a level that will help a major league team. The other thing that's great about that is, regardless of where it goes with Rich Hill, the time he's spending in Arizona right now, he's helping other players get better. It's hard when you're 18 years old and you watch Rich Hill work. How can I get better when you're watching a guy that's done it for 20 plus years? And then when he gets to Omaha, there's a wealth of knowledge there that Rich has that our guys will learn from it. So there's a lot of benefit to the organization when you have a guy with his experience in minor leagues with your younger guys.
Speaking of Royals general manager JJ Picollo, I want to ask you about one more thing that happened in the game last night. Q gets tossed because of the, I think, correct complaint about blocking second base there from Dairon Blanco. But I've always said on the show that I'm pro like a little fight every once in a while, JJ. I think it brings people to their feet a little bit. As a general manager, are you pro getting in an argument every once in a while? A slight brawl here or there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say I want to fight. I mean, but yeah, I mean, you want the competitiveness, and just the way Q came out of the dugout. I was joking after the game. I've never seen you run so fast, to get out there. But yeah, I mean, players get frustrated with that. That play is a very difficult call for the umpires. Almost every time we have a play of that nature, there's one team that disagrees with what the call was. I think the umpires, by and large, would love to see that as a reviewable play. The managers wanted it to be a reviewable play, and hopefully that play becomes reviewable next year, because it is the one most consistent play that creates the most controversy over the last several years. But to see Q come out there, we're in a tight game. Players get fired up about that, so there is a residual effect. It's not intentional on Q's part. It's very natural. But I think guys like to see their manager fighting for them once in a while. And that play is very frustrating, and middle infielders can't stand it, and runners can't stand it. So the timing was appropriate.
That, of course, involved some base running, and one of the frustrations, I think, from some fans here, in addition to where the offense is at, is just, hey, some of the mistakes maybe on the base pass. Some of it is it just wrong spot, a little bit of bad luck? What are you seeing from the base running, where obviously when you've struggled to get some guys on base, and then there's been some free outs given up?
Yeah, no, that's frustrating. Fans have a right to be upset about that. We've made some poor decisions on the bases. We're trying to be aggressive, because we're trying to score more runs. Regardless of what anybody tells you, when an offense is struggling, guys feel it. So now you're pressing to try to do more. And last night we ran into 3 outs last night. We gave them an innings worth of outs on a line drive double play, a pickoff, and a first to third that really wasn't a first to third. That there was no way anybody was going to make it first to third on that play. So we gave them 3 outs. But I think that's a sign of an offense and honestly, like human beings pressing because they want to do more and they want to score more runs. We've always said if we're going to make mistakes on the bases, be aggressive. I'll put those plays in a semi-aggressive, but they're pretty easy reads in last night's case, and we got to be better than that. And those guys know that. It's just one of those feelings when you're coming off the field, you're like, what have I just done? It's not there's no question whether or not you should or shouldn't have gone in those cases last night. It's pretty cut and dried. But we got to be better than that, to be very candid. We got to be better.
Last one for you, JJ, before we let you go. We appreciate the time with the Royals general manager here on 96.5 The Fan. I know we're not even to Memorial Day. That's coming up on Monday. But when do real conversations, maybe they've already happened, about ways that you could improve this offense, whether those are internal or external options?
Well, internal, they're going on all the time. I mean, that is a constant. I don't think we go more than 6 hours without somebody making a suggestion, throwing something in the Slack channel, an idea or two, waiver claims, et cetera. But when they become real discussions, I still think we're a little ways away. There's only a couple teams that are right now probably willing to talk about any of their players. If you're 5-6 games under 500, even at this point, maybe 10 games. I mean, the Tigers, I think, inspired a lot of teams last year with what they did from August 1st on. I mean, they were kind of, left like they're gone, they're out of it, and next thing you know, they're in the playoffs. So I think, teams want to hold their players longer in case you go on a run like the Twins just went on. So I think we're a little ways away from really having discussions that pick up. But I can promise you the internal discussions are never ending.
JJ Picollo joining us here on Cody and Gold. Appreciate it as always. We'll check in a couple weeks.
All right, guys. Thank you.
There you go. That's the general manager of the Kansas City Royals, also vice president of baseball ops with us here on 96.5 The Fan.
Seems like he got to see Vinny's home run based on it. Sounds like he was there if he was telling Q he hasn't seen him run.
I think he's on the trip. Yeah, I think he's on the trip.
I take the trip out there. That's a beautiful ballpark.
It is. It's now called Oracle. It's changed names like 7 times.
You've been there, right?
I have. I definitely want to bring the jacket or coat. I'll tell you that. Even if it's a nice day for the first 2 innings, it's going to be freezing by the end of the game. Right off the water there.
Yeah, it's a little bit. That's where I remember. I got married in San Francisco. Then we went to a game that night.
Right.
Went to a Giants-Dodgers game. There were multiple fights.
I think
multiple.
I think though, and we'll get into what he had to say about Kags later on in the show. But I think clearly that we've all talked about the offense and the issues there. The base running thing might be the most frustrating thing right now.
Even more than just like swinging and missing or not getting guys home.
And you heard him acknowledge that, there's some of those mistakes last night, particularly, just can't happen. Those cannot happen at the big league level.
You're getting aggressive trying to go to third and then make a perfect throw, so be it. Mm-hmm. You're just leaning off the base for no reason in the Hunter Renfroe case and getting clipped when it's like you weren't going first to third there. And like to his point, also you're Hunter Renfroe. Like there is a point of like you're not the guy to be trying to steal the extra bag either, even if the ball goes all the way through to home plate. What if the pitcher stops it? What if somebody else stopped? Like just too many things can go wrong on that play, especially for an offense that's struggling. Don't run into outs. Do not run into outs. Don't two-plan your way through the base paths for, 2 straight weeks.
I know the timeline can change, but I did like hearing on the Cole Reagan, Seth Lugo front.
Yeah, that was great news.
As of right this second, they don't think this is going to be a longer-term thing for Reagan's. Things can change, but I definitely liked hearing that there's a chance maybe it is just a quick stint on the old IL, and both of them could be back. The first week of June or whatever that would be in terms of the timeline. We'll get back into what JJ had to say on some of that stuff, plus what he said about Kags and why now is the right time for him to get promoted to AAA as Kags does begin AAA portion of his professional career, I believe tonight out in Salt Lake.
I know I'm old. I'm not trying to pretend like I'm not.
I know I'm old,
just hear me out.
Okay, all right.
I understand the issues I've had with my knees or feet or other things. What the hell's this? What the hell's this targeted email I just got from the Kansas City Orthopedic Institute, who I've gone to for stuff, so I respect it. This hurts a little bit. Okay. I'll be honest. They've done great work. Mm-hmm. I appreciate everything they've done for me. Mm-hmm. The email I just got from them said, quote, when is hip joint replacement the right option? Why?
Well, the right target.
Why did you do this to me?
The right target, man. They know about the super bone.
I don't
know
have
the problems.
I've had no current hip issues. If this had said knee replacement stuff, I'd kind of respect it. Mm-hmm. Maybe that is one day in the cards for me. I might need knee replacement surgery one day. Hip replacement? Man, that hurts.
So many people hear with the knee replacement stuff. They're like, the rehab obviously is hard work, but then when they're done with it, they're like, it's the best thing they ever did. For those that actually have knee problems.
Oh, I'll be there one day. I mean, I have knee problems now.
There's a good chance a lot of us will. Yeah.
The knee.
The knees.
How's your back been doing, I guess?
Every once in a while it tightens up. It's not anywhere near what it was for a while back. Yeah, it's much better.
I wasn't even, I just said when to consider a hip replacement. They're like, listen, man, we heard you talk about.
Do you fit anything that it's saying ailments. You need to do?
That's a great question. Yeah. I think it's more just like living with chronic pain can significantly limit your enjoyment of life when non-surgical treatments and joint pain like physical therapy aren't enough.
Do you
Don't let it control your life.
Cody?
Learn more.
Pain?
Not in my hip and my knee, probably. My feet, clearly, right?
Yeah.
We can talk about many of the surgeries I need. Just hip replacement. That hit me with a certain level of age I wasn't prepared for.
Hip sounds way older than if you need your knees replaced. Knees a thing, but like hip sounds even older.
My grandmother recently got her hip. She's 90.
Doesn't help.
She was 90 when she got it done.
Someone says, Drew, you'll need hip replacement if you keep squatting 250.
Yeah, that's right. I know.
That one was just tough.
How about this, though? Someone said their wife's only 38, has had 2 fake hips for almost 10 years.
Wow.
Now, I don't know if there was
there a reason why?
Was there
Yeah, she'd break them?
An accident or something?
Dan over on Twitch says hip replacements to win the hot dog derby, pretty much part Android at that point.
Yeah, you get
Give
new
myself
knees.
a medical advantage.
Yeah, get new knees and a new hip, Cody, and you might be ready to roll finally and not be over in the hot dog derby.
Yeah. One day. I actually want to win the hot dog derby before I have any surgeries because that might very well put an end to it, you know?
You should claim this, Gold. From the 918, it looks like Alex has back issues from carrying the show so much.
Wow.
Damn.
Wow. Says Cody requests off so much time. Drew's a Bengals fan. Enough said.
Wow.
Tough to hear, you know? Tough to actually, in fairness, the last time I was off, Alex and I were at the same time.
We were both
Except for
in
the 1 hour
California
yesterday, but
that
was
one
important.
extra hour. We're keeping track.
That was important because it was good, by the way. The way it worked is like it was a big line.
Yeah, you were gone for your daughter had like a wax
She had a
museum
living wax
thing.
museum.
Okay.
So the idea being like, you stand up there and they're telling you about the history of the person.
So you walk up to her and it's like, I'm Beyonce. And she reads a bunch of facts, right?
She talked about when she was born, where she came out of. She talked about when she left Destiny's Child and became a solo artist. You know, like you get a little bit of a backstory. That's an important part of her timeline, you know?
And if you like it, then you should have put a ring on it.
I try to pay attention to some of the other kids. I want them to, there were lots of different historical figures. There was other musicians like Billie Eilish and some other ones, and then just like classic stuff. Abraham Lincoln.
Presidents, yeah.
Yeah, Abraham Lincoln, Patrick Mahomes had 2.
Really?
I will say the kid who had LeBron James was wearing a Steph Curry jersey, and that felt like a bit.
So he should have been Steph Curry.
That felt a little off. I felt
Wow.
like, maybe can't, get it, but like I felt like I needed to get him a LeBron jersey or he needed to do
Yeah,
Steph.
that's one. You're okay. That one's interesting. Was it just a basketball player, and that was just essentially?
I don't know. Maybe just like to, he was in a Steph jersey, and he was his wax museum character was LeBron James.
All right. I'm glad it went well.
Only 2 Patrick Mahomes. That felt low.
I'm surprised they allowed duplicates. Hey man, rock paper scissors.
Yeah, you guys got to figure this out. Maybe it's different because there's 2 different classes. Maybe per class there's no repeating allowed. I didn't see more than 2 of anyone, but maybe outside. Of
I don't know if this is weird, but the way that it's like American figures, like in terms of not popularity, but like a really big deal. Not that Steph Curry or LeBron or Beyonce aren't, but I picture older people traditionally considered
there was
American.
Newton.
No, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
There was Sir Isaac Newton. There was, there were
big figures,
classics.
Einstein, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Not that they have to be dead, but it's like you want to appreciate them when they're like in the moment. I think it was kind of cool appreciating Beyonce now as opposed to waiting.
Her friend did Princess Diana and was dressed in like the sweatshirt and short, like her classic look. And I was like, there's not a single kid who gets this outfit. But immediately you're like, yeah, that's how Princess Di dressed. Makes sense. I liked it. I liked the commitment to it. It was fun. For anybody who was curious why I missed the show yesterday, I had to go to a living wax museum.
People at one point yesterday texted in the 1 o'clock hour and thought you were dealing with the birds still, but no. Yesterday was a rough day for the birds. We'll get to the trash of the
birds
day.
in general,
not just the 2 birds that were in our studio, or at least our building. There was a bird issue at a baseball game yesterday, and then I guess there's a bird trafficking problem, too, going on in some parts of the world.
Somebody on Twitch suggested that somebody should have done Chiefsaholic. I would have died.
Gosh.
I would
American
have
icon.
died. It would have led the show today.
Jeez.
If for some reason that was somebody's historical figure.
Someone says, are you guys team Ryan Clark, team RG3, or is it a dumb rage bait? Yeah, I'm going to sit this one out. I would say I think it's dumb, but also I'll sit that whole one out. I don't think I should be part of that conversation.
That whole Andrew Reese, Caitlin Clark thing, though, might be one of the biggest stories in sports
It's
over
great
the
for
last
the
couple
league.
of days.
It's great for the league. It was.
You need it. You need fight.
Caitlin Clark in action tonight. Let's get another triple-double tonight, please. Thank you.
The gold card doesn't go up till June, and this week could be the week you get the PSA grade back.
There's a chance. There's a chance. I'm waiting for the grade on the rookie card, and then it'll be in the golden auction in June. But yes, we're waiting. It's a waiting game at this point.
Make me one deal. I want to find out live, and the audience does.
Okay.
So if you get the grade back at like 7 o'clock tonight, I don't want to know.
Okay.
You can tell me you got the grade in.
Yeah.
I don't want to know the grade.
Okay.
Live with the audience, like on the show.
Yeah, there's a chance it's this week. It could also be. I truly don't know. I mean, I think there's a chance by the end of this week, but it could also be next week. So I'll definitely tell you guys when I know. But yeah, I will not send out a tweet. I will not text you guys until we
address it on the show.
I'll make that promise.
I want to find out.
Yeah.
I want to find out like everyone else.
Okay, that's fair. Hey, up next, though, we didn't get to it there as we obviously had a good conversation with JJ Picollo. I want to talk about what the NFL is considering doing today. A lot of things on the table that could impact the playoff seeding even. That's next.
This is Cody and Gold on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Look, maybe you've been working an outside job and you've got hip pain and you're tired of maybe the physical labor that comes with it. Centric can help you get a new career in IT in as little as 4 months.
That's right. Technology is the future of every single industry. Think about it. Like, even if you're not sure what you want to do, there's not an industry that does not involve technology, especially now more than ever. What's great about Centric, they have the relationships that are going to help you after you go through their program in as little as 4 months. How about over 1,700 companies hiring Centric grads?
They're building new IT centers in Kansas City right now. We can walk you through, like they said, nights or weekends or online, kind of what works for you as you look for that new career. Reach out to our guy, Russ. He's been with Centric for over 16 years and will guide you through every step of the way. That's Centric.com.
And Doug. Here we have the Limu Emu in its natural habitat, helping people customize their car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Fascinating. It's accompanied by his natural ally, Doug.
Limu, is that guy with the binoculars watching us?
Cut the camera. They see us.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.
It's Taco Tuesday time, Kansas City, and Summit Grill is bringing the flavor. Every Tuesday from 3 p.m. to close, hit the bar or lounge for our legendary $2.50 tacos and $5 house margaritas made with Jose Cuervo Tradicional Silver. Come see us at one of our 3 convenient Summit Grill locations, Waldo, Lee Summit, and Gladstone. Join us for steak street tacos, cold drinks, and your favorite neighborhood vibe. Taco Tuesday never looked or tasted so good. Summit Grill, proud taco partner of the Cody and Gold Show on 96.5 The Fan.
Men, is good enough really what you want with your sex life? This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health, and if erectile dysfunction is making a bad bedroom experience for you and your partner, you should call us because you want your intimacy to be fantastic, both for you and the one you love. At Heartland Men's Health, our treatments have success rates of well over 90%. And because we're a medical practice focused on men's sexual health, we can offer many treatment options and even combine treatments to find the right one for you. Which means if you're like most of our patients, we can likely get you performing like you haven't in years. So make an appointment and make a change from good enough to really good. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600. That's 844-447-6600. Or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 3 offices to serve you. Heartland Men's Health, a Promenic restorative health
Just hearing the word IRS can make people break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about Legal Tax Defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free no-risk consultation. 800-265-7681. 800-265-7681. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-265-7681.
Need to sell your house in Kansas City but not sure what the best option is? Selling a home, especially when dealing with foreclosure, divorce, job relocation, or an inherited property, can feel overwhelming. That's why I don't just make offers. I help homeowners understand all their options so they can make the right choice with no pressure and no obligation. I'm Rex, a local homebuyer and resident right here in Kansas City. Whether you're looking for a fast cash sale or just want to explore your choices, I'll walk you through the pros and cons of selling to me or listing with an agent. If selling directly is your best move, I'll offer you a fair cash price and a closing timeline that fits your needs in as little as 7 days or on your schedule. No repairs, no commissions, no hidden fees. Just a transparent, hassle-free process so you know exactly what to expect. Let's talk. Call 816-330-6000 or visit rexbuyskc.com for a free, no-pressure consultation. Rex Buys KC, helping homeowners make informed decisions with confidence.
During National Military Appreciation Month, we at University of Maryland Global Campus say thank you to the service members, veterans, and families who dedicate their lives to our country. We are deeply grateful. For over 75 years, UMGC has proudly served the military community, from installations overseas to the communities you call home. Wherever you serve, we stand with you. Learn more at umgc.edu/thanks. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community. And he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Not available in all states. Rates vary. Building a financial safety net for your family can be tough, but with term life insurance through Ethos, you can have peace of mind that they can pay the mortgage and other bills if something happens to you. With coverage in as little as 10 minutes, all online, Ethos finds your best rate across their multiple trusted carriers. Some policies as low as $1 a day billed monthly. And even in uncertain times, your term life insurance rates and payout don't change. Get a free quote at ethos.com/win. That's ethos.com/win.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, cause you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
What's up, KC? This is Matt Quattrero. On your way home from the ballpark, make sure to listen to Vern's postgame show right here on 96.5 The Fan. I will not be listening.
96.5 The Fan, KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, an Odyssey Sports Station.
$11 hour. It's Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Cody Tapp, Drew Nixon with you. We'll get to the trash of the day in about 15 minutes or so. But today in the NFL could be a historical day if, in fact, a couple things pass at the league meetings. I want to start with what I hate the most out of the rule changes, but also one that I actually think has a much bigger impact than even a tush push. And that is this idea of reseeding the playoffs. That, yeah, if you win their division, you get an automatic berth into the postseason, but it no longer would guarantee you a home playoff game. I think this is a terrible idea. It's proposed by the Lions, but according to Mike Florio, Roger Goodell likes this. Roger Goodell would like that, and you're wondering, why does Roger Goodell want it? That's because, in their mind, it would guarantee better matchups, better games in not only the playoffs in the opening round, they're thinking that the final couple weeks of the season, when sometimes those games get a little stale for non-playoff teams or contenders, that would add some new incentive and interesting dynamics to how the last couple weeks are going to be played. The proposal came from the Lions.
Those winning teams would still keep playing, yeah.
Yeah, it came from the Lions, not from the competition committee, although Detroit president Rod Wood admitted last month that the proposal was made at the behest of the league office, where the commissioner wants this in hopes of making those late season games. So they did not vote on it in March. You guys remember? That means they didn't have the votes to get it done. So the question is, over the last 2 months, has Roger Goodell convinced / broker deals to get this to pass? Right now, we all know if you win your division, you're locked into a seed based on your record, but you get a home game. And there's no worry that if you rest week 18 like the Chiefs did, that you would lose your seeding based on record or something if another team was in position to tie you record-wise. If it passes, it would eliminate, obviously, the requirement that a wild card team who might have a better record would have to travel to, let's say, the 4 seed or whatever. This year, the Chargers would have, I believe, hosted a playoff game as a wild card team.
So the way I guess I view this and the reseeding it. So I guess what I'm curious what other people's opinion are. 913-586-7965. My initial instinct is this still helps the Chiefs. Their record will always be good. Therefore, if for some reason they don't win their division one year, they'll still have a really good record, and a reseeding in the second round would mean more home games for Kansas City in the Patrick Mahomes era, etc. But there's part of me that thinks because the number of games the Chiefs play, the ability to sit out week 18, whether you're the 2 seed or the 1 seed or whatever, the 3 seed, and you're just kind of locked into your seeding because you've won your division and it doesn't matter, might be more beneficial to them than getting a reseed in the second round for hypothetically maybe the one time they don't actually win their division and aren't the 1 or the 2 seed anyway. And so like in the long run, I actually think this might hurt Kansas City in the short term. But I'll say it will make week 16, 17, and 18 a little more interesting.
Yeah.
Because it will take away the incentive to kick up your feet when you're the 10 and 7 team and you're locked into the 5, because if it turns out if you win, you can have a better record than the team who won their division, therefore might get a home playoff game. I just think that this, more than anything else you mentioned, more than the tush push, more than they're looking at the onside kick, this fundamentally changes the sport in a very, very big way. And so I don't want to ignore that part. It really changes the sport.
Big time. I don't like it at all. I understand their argument would be the division still matters. It guarantees you a playoff spot. But you are taking away some of what it means to win a division and why it's a big deal. It's not just that you get a playoff spot. It's that you get a home game. Your fans, I know we've been spoiled long enough in Kansas City. They've won it 9 straight years, so we're used to home playoff games.
Your fans get to see you play.
Imagine that feeling when we all had when the first time in a while the Chiefs were hosting a playoff game. That was a huge freaking deal. Imagine if you're a team like the Lions, who were bad for so long, you finally won your division, and you got to host a playoff game at home. I mean, that's huge. And you can argue on the other side and say, well, yeah, you hadn't been in the playoffs. You finally got in as a wild card. You got a chance to host a playoff game then. I'm always under the belief, call me old school, I guess, you win your division, you get a home playoff game. Sorry. The one-off couple years where I win 10 games and the 6th seed or the 5 seed.
It's not often, but it happens,
Yeah, the 5th seed happens to win 12 and I'm a 10 and 7 team and I won my division. Tough. It's kind of the way it goes. Sorry, you didn't win your division. The division has to matter, and just being locked into a playoff spot to me is not enough. Give me a home game. That's always been the thing in the NFL and a lot of sports, but specifically the NFL. You win your division, you get a playoff game.
I guess
home.
that's kind of the question is, will it start turning into the way we feel about the NBA? There are divisions in the NBA. Does anyone care about them?
No, nobody
Drew,
knows
can you
what
even
they
name
are.
them? We all watch the NBA, and I'd have to struggle.
Nobody says the Atlantic.
Southeast.
Nobody says, wow, they won the Atlantic Division.
Yeah, no one cares. They talk about the West and the East. Does it just turn into AFC, NFC?
But that's the thing.
And then division rivalries. And we talked about this with college sports.
Yeah.
You don't want to kill that part of it. The division games matter more. Those 6 games, because those 6 games don't matter more. You get more of them on your schedule, but they fundamentally do not matter as much anymore if the AFC and the NFC are just based off of reseeding.
Yeah, it lessens what it means to win your division, and I would be with you. If they make this change, then they might as well consider just making it rank out the top 8 teams or whatever it is in each conference and just be done with it. And it's an AFC, NFC conference thing.
Yep.
They're currently 7th in the AFC, and you just know what that means for you and just go for it. I don't like that idea, but if this is where we're going to go, and if the commissioner is behind a proposal to reseed, I'm worried that this is going to pass today. I do not like this at all. And this is not just because the Chiefs are in the middle of a divisional run and they've won 9 straight. I firmly, just as a sports fan, fundamentally disagree with the notion that you will take away a guaranteed home playoff game from a division winner if there happens to be a wild card team like last year in Minnesota's case that won 14 games, but they lost to the division leader Lions, and then they would have hosted a game instead of Tampa, I guess, or whatever it would have been.
I told you I would make. And I know it's more complicated, and then the more complicated it is, the less interested you are. I would just make exceptions for the extreme examples of this. If I win my division with 10 games and you win 11, I don't actually think that we need to be swapping everything out and making a big deal and changing all. It feels like a lot to do for we played 17, 18 games, and there ended up being one difference between our record. A million things could have caused that. Our starting quarterback could have been out for 2. Whatever, doesn't matter. But if there's like we won 14 games and you won 9, like there is a number of games in which I would entertain it. I would just make a clause about like, hey, if everything's the same, but if we're 4 games, 3 games, okay, fine. Then this is kind of crazy.
So it has
that
to be
4 games better. You know?
So it has to be a wild card team that has 3 wins more
this
than
is exactly why no one will ever sign up for it.
Yeah.
Is that I'm making it too complicated, even though I actually think it's the better system. But when you try to go explain it to everybody, layman fan is like, "What the hell are we doing here?" And admittedly, it's probably too complicated.
I think the idea of it emulate because hockey in a way is similar to the NBA in the fact that they don't rank. If you win, there's only 2 divisions in each conference. But if you have a record that's worse, like for instance, it was the Winnipeg Jets and the Dallas Stars with the 2 seed, but the Stars are in the same division as the Jets. It's like the NBA. There's not enough in the NBA and NHL. There's enough games where even though you play the teams in your quote unquote division more, it ends up kind of cycling itself out of relevance really when it comes to the seeding. Where in the NFL, your division really impacts your schedule so much where if you win if the Chiefs win the division and the AFC West is as difficult as it was last year, you should absolutely be rewarded for that as opposed to if, let's say, the NFC South, for whatever reason, the Panthers are really damn good and they go 12-5, but the division's easier. I think there should be some sort of relevance where just because your record is good doesn't mean that you're deserving of being a higher seed than if you won in a tougher division.
913-586-7965. That's kind of what a texter was alluding to from the 816. Said, hey, an upcoming team would have a last place schedule, and you could then overcome the top teams with tougher schedules.
Yes.
If you win your division, you were going to play other first place teams. So now, in a weird way, so I can play an easier schedule every year and win a bunch of games theoretically as a wild card team, host a playoff game, but then the next year I still get to play an easier schedule over and over. Like, why do you get the benefit of both?
If we're reseeding, then it shouldn't be both.
Right. Well, that's
like I should get stuck with if I'm the 3 seed, even if I'm second in my division, I should get stuck with I don't know. I feel like I should get stuck.
Yeah,
with a more difficult schedule, but you can't do that because it's not in division, so it's tough.
Do you guys think this passes? If Roger Goodell's behind it, I think there's a chance it does. I hope it doesn't. But usually when the commissioner is pushing something, it gets done, right? He gets the owners to back it. He works for them, but he still can broker deals, basically I'll scratch your back kind of thing if you scratch mine. And on some other proposal that they want, if you vote this way on the Tush push, I'll make sure I do this for you on this one kind of thing.
I'm curious. So in a way, this kind of turns into, it's weird. The NFL turns into college football partially in this. Would you rather, and I think your answer is going to be absolutely not, but would you, if let's say they just go to straight seed or straight off a record, would you rather them rank the teams 1 through 8? Because I think then you would account for
who's ranking them. Who's ranking them?
I don't know.
I don't want the college football. I already hate that. Suits, Drew. That's who.
I'll let you finish, but I hate the idea of it.
No. I figured you would, but I think you with the ranking, you at least get some fairness of, hey, they played in a first place schedule in the division. And they actually played well with it, as opposed to, well, this team went 10-7, but the division's really tough. Sorry, guys, you're a 6 seed because there are other teams ahead of you. Like,
could you imagine?
Could you
imagine this last? Imagine this last year.
But
imagine this last year. The Chiefs won 15 games. They were 15-2 when it was all said and done. But because we all know the national narrative was, well, they're only winning a bunch of close games. They're not that good. Some idiot on the committee would have tried to convince everybody that they're the third best team or something in the league. And that's why. No. I totally don't like that idea.
Like the division thing, I guess the reason why it always seemed more fair than the NFL's making it seem is like, all right, you're playing a bad division, you win your division. Okay, so what? You stacked up wins. You're not like any better or worse than anyone else. 2 teams out of your division come out of there. You guys played a bunch of softies. It just feels a disadvantage to be like, well, I play in a weak division and I can be seated wherever I want. Mm-hmm. Like there isn't like a slide in there where you still have to accomplish the thing in order to do it. And my big
schedule would be a whole lot more important in terms of how we view it.
Yeah, and I would just say more balanced schedule than just get rid of divisions and all that stuff. And I don't want that because that's what, honest to God, I think it's the biggest mistake college made in all of this is. I sports thrive because of hate. Like, you want rivalries and people you hate, and Gold from birth has been naturally raised to hate the Raiders because they are in the division.
That's right.
And you hate them more when they win your division or anything else in between. And that means something in the NFL. It still means something in baseball. It doesn't mean anything in the NBA. And as a result of that, you just have to go to the natural rivals or this stuff. I feel like it might kill that. I feel like it might hurt that at the very least.
We'll see how this plays out today. Again, this is one of the issues they're voting on. We can talk more about the tush push. There's some revised language with that could lead to it getting banned later on today. I think that is going to get banned.
Yeah, I think so too.
But it will also have some language that makes it seem like they're not just focused on the Eagles portion of it. That
we're getting everybody.
Because you're not. That rule already kind of existed before. They just stopped enforcing or whatever. So that's going to be the way they're going to phrase it. There's also some discussions, as you said, Cody, about onside kick rules and trying to make that a relevant play, I guess. And otherwise, might as well just not even allow onside kicks. So we'll get to that maybe a little bit later on in the show. Before we get to the trash of the day, I want to briefly talk about the stadium front. Carrington had the Speaker of the Kansas House, Stan Hawkins, on his show yesterday, getting the latest of where things stand. We mentioned this last week that it sure seems like everything is kind of converging on the month of June. You know, the state of Missouri and the governor said that they're going to have a special session, or her plan is to have a special session to discuss a stadium bill. We know the Star bonds expire at the end of June. It all seems like June is when it's going to happen. Here's what Representative Dan Hawkins told CDOT yesterday about the Kansas proposal compared to the stadium bill if it passes in Missouri, and could they actually have a strong counterpunch?
Well, I think it's going to be difficult for them because that Star bond is a really strong tool to use, whereas I think the state of Missouri has to just write funds out of their treasury, and that's going to be tough. That's going to be tough for them to put a lot out there. Certainly Jackson County not being able to pass a sales tax hurt them. So I actually think we're probably, I think we're in the driver's seat on this deal. It wouldn't surprise me if we get both of them. I think it's also difficult that they couldn't pass something during the legislative session. If they would have passed something during the legislative session, it may have changed certainly the direction of things. I know the governor of Missouri has talked about calling a special session in June, and my thought is, I've been in the legislature for 13 years. What's going to change during the special session that didn't happen during the regular session? So if they had a hard time doing it in a regular session, they're going to call a special session and do it in a day or two or three, whatever that is. I doubt that that's probably going to change things a whole lot for them.
So that was, and obviously he's on the Kansas side. So let's understand where he's coming
his
from.
Point of view is,
but I think it would be very fair to say that if right now Missouri does not have any additional funding mechanism at the state level passed, so of course Kansas
might be a special session.
I think it's very fair to say Kansas, as it sits right this second on May 20th, is in the driver's seat to land one or two of these teams. They absolutely are. Now that can change if Missouri were to pass something in the special session, and yeah, I think the general point probably is true, which is why do you think 2 weeks later everybody's going to get it figured out in Jefferson City? And my answer to that would just be the reason why they didn't figure it out is politics. The reason why they could figure it out is also politics. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm at on why the special session could make it happen.
Yeah. I mean, I don't blame him for thinking that. I think Kansas is kind of getting one no matter what. I just feel like there's not enough money to go around based on how Missouri's been handling this thing from the beginning. The more interesting part to me was when he talked about this, and I'll play it here in a second, the Chiefs versus the Royals part. Once again, it's always the Chiefs have just been kicking their heels up, waiting for something to happen.
I would say 4 months ago, I felt like the Royals were probably the best chance, and I still think they are, but the Chiefs are coming on strong, and based on some of the things that I know is that some of the talks that I know are happening out there, I think we got a really good chance of getting both of them.
So the way that I view this, and look, I'm sure he does. Again, on the Kansas side, I think it's a little bit different. I think if we played Mayor Lucas or somebody else on the Missouri side.
And we have, yeah.
And they would say very similar for the Missouri side. Based on what I've heard around the Chiefs, it still goes back to the initial thing. The one thing that gives me big pause about whether or not the Chiefs end up in Kansas is I still firmly believe in-house that Clark Hunt wants to renovate Arrowhead and stay there. The whole thing that we talked about, Gold, when he went through the renovation plan the first time, I think he very much wants to protect his family and his father's legacy by staying at Arrowhead. And so, like, the fact that the talks are just now getting going with the Chiefs, I think is largely because Clark's initial instinct is to stay where he is. The Royals, I can't figure. Downtown's the only thing they talked about a million different times in a row. And to go out to the suburbs of Kansas feels like the antithesis of what their original plan was.
And I agree, but at some point
money talks. I get it.
Yeah, it's a business decision. And if it's true that nothing happens on the Missouri side from the stadium bill, and one side of the state line is going to offer you, let's say, 70+% of your project covered, I mean, from a pure business standpoint, you'd almost be foolish to not accept it. So we'll find out. I really think June finally is going. I'm not saying we're going to know the exact sites and every rendering.
No, he made a point of that too. I think these deals are coming. Everyone thinks the deal's coming soon.
I think it's June. Everything's converging on June. It just has to. If we're talking about special session in Missouri, if we're talking about the Star Bonds on Kansas side expiring end of June, some point next month, I think we're going to finally have a real good idea of the approximate location, at least from a state line perspective.
What a month. We'll know which state they're going to go to. You'll find out how your card's doing at auction. Go ahead, Drew.
Why are people so triggered about this thing? I don't understand. Like somebody,
what part? What are you
the
talking
person
about?
Who
The Kansas versus Missouri part?
It's the whole. What are they going to be called? The Wyandotte Chiefs. You realize?
Spoiler: they'll be called the Kansas City Royals and Kansas City Chiefs.
And mind you, the same person said you can't make money off the name of a city you aren't a part of. I live in Legends. I live in Legends.
Yeah. What city do you live in, Drew?
I live in Kansas City, Kansas, boys.
Right, correct.
They can be called the Kansas City Chiefs.
The Atlanta Braves do not live in Atlanta proper. Like the
Dallas Cowboys aren't in Dallas.
They're in Arlington. Yeah. I mean,
think about like the most premier brand.
We can just keep going on.
The Golden State Warriors. Well, they're Golden
San Francisco 49ers are in Santa Clara, California. We can go on and on. The New York Giants and New York Jets are not in New York. They're in New Jersey. We can go on and on and on. This is how it plays. The spoiler is the Chiefs and Royals will be the Kansas City Chiefs and the Kansas City Royals still, whether they're in Missouri or Kansas. That's just the reality of it, and it happens all across the country. You personally might have some weird thing at some point. You're going to just call it the whatever, and that's cool, but that's not how anybody else is going to call it nationally or actually from a marketing standpoint. But yeah, that's always a weird
They're going
to
rebrand. They're going to change the jerseys. They're going to change the colors, the logo. It's all going to be different.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even have an alt jersey. Now, Clark's going to change the Chiefs jersey. Like, I bet that when they sign up for all those, like, City Connect ones, they're like year 3 or 4. Clark's probably like, push me down as far as you can.
Wow,
I know eventually
someone's very upset. Someone's very upset.
Which part?
They're in the same state, you bleeps. Which what are you talking about?
But Dallas is a city. They're not the.
What are you talking about? He's saying
they're not the Texas Cowboys.
He's trying to argue that because they would move to a different state, then it's there is
no, man.
city.
I can see Missouri almost from this studio.
You mentioned,
but literally
there is
a
Giants,
are in Jersey.
No, he's saying that they didn't leave it. He's just saying that.
I got
the team is going across state lines. It doesn't matter. There is a Kansas City, Kansas as well. So, like, if your argument is that no city by the name Kansas City exists in Kansas. By the way, we're giving this person way too much time. This is a very dumb conversation. It can be the Kansas City Chiefs or Kansas City Royals.
Outside of this, for just a minute, and like I understand that people consistently have these hang-ups. Can I call for a brief moment of unity in this city? We could use it.
Good luck.
Which is, I guess I thought. We all viewed it this way, and I know Alex does, and I'm a little surprised sometimes we aren't, that Kansas City is just the metro area.
Right.
And look, we could draw invisible lines. Maybe some of you don't think Paola or St. Joe or however far out in the city you want to go. But, like, just the general area is Kansas City.
When you go out of town, do you
if
tell
Alex
people
says, I'm from Overland Park, if he says he's from Kansas City, I'm like, Alex, I can't believe you. Tell that person the truth. Right. Yeah. You're from Overland Park, Kansas, not Kansas City.
Yeah, I was just in California, so are you, and someone asked where I'm from. I said I'm from Kansas City. Then if they ask specifically, then you can narrow it down. In general, I said I'm from Kansas City because most people wouldn't know the suburbs.
You think we stretch it here? You should see what people call living in Chicago. In other cities, you should see how far they stretch the boundaries in some
and
other
everything
cities.
Goes way west or whatever.
Dude, they'll be 2 hours outside of Chicago and claim they're from Chicago. So You know, like at some point, I don't think Kansas City's all. I mean, it's pretty spread.
I'm
but it
not,
ain't that bad.
I'm not from Indianapolis, guys. I'm from McCordsville, Indiana. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know where the hell that's at. We will get to the trash of the day at some point later on. We ran long there. But up next, let's get to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Talk a little bit more about the toughest AFC West. Do we agree that if that's the case for Patrick Mahomes here in 2025?
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
The conference finals are here. That means all the show-stopping action is turning up a notch. Don't miss your chance to bet on all the legendary moments with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel is the best place to find all your favorite player props, and now you can make the smarter play with new performance trends. If you want to see if somebody's about to hit that over consistently, or maybe they're flirting with a potential triple-double tonight, that could happen. Well, get the latest stats right inside the app and see who's heating up. And once the game starts, that's when things can also get interesting. You can combine live prop bets into a same-game parlay for a chance to win big. And if you don't already have FanDuel, it's not too late to get in on the action. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. So just visit FanDuel.com/Alex to join today. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA and 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
It's the spring sales event at Rob Sight Ford, and I'm here with the man himself, Rob Sight. Rob, you already stole the spotlight. Now what are you trying to take?
Just your attention, Kevin, and maybe a few trade-ins. Now, we've got up to $14,000 off new Fords with employee pricing, plus our own dealer discount.
$14,000. That's hotter than your Sunday barbecue.
Exactly. And unlike your burgers, these deals won't dry out. We've got hard-to-find inventory, huge trade-in values, and our non-commissioned sales team makes everything so easy.
No pressure, just real help. Even I'll admit it, it's the best place in Kansas City to buy a car, and I don't hand out compliments lightly, or seconds.
That's a fact. And don't forget, we're Kansas City's top-rated Ford dealer on Google. 4.8 stars, nearly 3,000 reviews, and 0 grill marks.
All right, Rob, I'll give it to you, man. You're cooking up some real value over there.
Come see us at 135th and State Line, or visit robsight.com. But hurry, these deals are sizzling and inventory is moving fast.
And tell him Rob sent you. No guarantees, but he might throw in a hot dog.
Lee Summit Subaru also sponsors several pet adoption clinics like Midwest Animal Rescue and events each year such as Dogtoberfest. It's all part of the Subaru Love Promise, and we're committed to helping our community fall in love with driving again at Lee Summit Subaru. LeeSummitSubaru.com.
In 1950, my great-grandpa started Gunner Pest Control, and 75 years later, we're still Kansas City's highest-rated team of local experts. With decades of experience, our team has perfected the treatment plan to keep your home free from bugs, rodents, and termites. Gunter protects your home, but also the environment. Our treatments are safe for pets and kids, and our electric service vehicles are charged in our solar-powered garage. Go Gunter, go green.
For over 8 years, QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in non-surgical relief for joint pain, with over 50,000 satisfied patients. People with knee and back pain now living pain-free. Shoulder and hip pain, gone. What they're doing is nothing short of remarkable. They're using regenerative cell therapy to restore the tissue in their achy joints. They're using biologic growth factors with robust healing properties, carefully and strategically placed in your joint. It's a powerful and potent way to give your joints new life. The best part, with QC Kinetics, there are no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. It's an all-natural cellular level option with lasting relief. Imagine doing all the things you enjoy this summer without being slowed down by that awful joint pain in your knees or your back. Call QC Kinetics now and learn about these cutting-edge treatments that can help you live your best life. Call 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. It's QC Kinetics.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
When something happens to your car, you might say,
My car!
but what you really need to say is something that can actually help.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
And just like that, State Farm is there to help you file your claim right on the State Farm mobile app. So just remember, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
State Farm, Bloomington, Illinois.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
You could think you found your dream home online, but here's the twist. The lot next door just got rezoned for years of construction. Work with the expertise and ethical training of a Realtor, here to guide and help protect you from the surprises you didn't see coming. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors, right by you.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check the GPS directions first, before driving to the mall.
Turn right at the light. In 1,000 miles, you will reach Montreal.
Not Montreal, the mall.
Recalculating. 6,000 miles to Nepal.
No, the mall.
Checking first is smart.
Recalculating.
So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Find what you love and love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you.
With the lowest prices for over 30 years, find what you love only at Total Wine & More. Drink responsibly, B21.
The technicians you can trust with your house keys. Anthony Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric.
Stay comfortable year-round with expert HVAC installation done right the first time. Enjoy zero down and payments from $180 a month. Schedule your consultation today at AnthonyPHCE.com.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. Welcome in to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Every day at 11:30 with Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan.
Chiefs Red Half Hour brought to you by All Weather Decks, Kansas City's most respected deck builder. Still very mad about our Kansas versus Missouri. By the way, I want to say one thing.
He's arguing about something completely different.
He said because you all live in Kansas. I do want to say one thing. We don't all live in Kansas.
We don't? No.
I was born in Kansas while living in Missouri, and I've lived in Missouri my entire life. Alex was born in Missouri and lived in Kansas his entire life. But I've lived in Missouri my entire life.
Yeah, and look, if your argument is that it's if one of the teams or both leave the state of Missouri or KCMO, that it's not good for... We all are on the same page. There are consequences to one of the teams leaving, or both, leaving the state of Missouri. Why we brought up your text on air is you said they're not going to be called the Kansas City Chiefs. That's why we addressed your text. Nobody's disputing there are not massive economic impacts to wherever the teams go. But your text, again, was saying that they are not going to be called the Kansas City Chiefs, which we very quickly pushed back on, and it's factually inaccurate that they will not be called that. That's all, man. We agree on the economic stuff. Anyway, all right. Let's get to the Chiefs Red Half Hour, as you said. Let's talk about the AFC West a little bit, because I just saw James Palmer. We already discussed this earlier. He was just on Kay Adams, and he kind of agrees. He says this is the toughest path in the AFC West for Mahomes. This isn't the same as talking about the schedule and as a whole being tougher. He just thinks during this 9-year run of the AFC West the Chiefs are on, that this is the toughest one for Mahomes and this current Chiefs regime to navigate through. And I think you look at the QB coach combos, and I get the point. I mean, I'm not saying that the Chiefs are not going to win this division. We talked about the reasons why we both believe that's the case, that they will. But you go through the 9-year stretch. How many times could you actually say all three of their opponents had legitimate head coaches that have had championships at multiple levels or one
Rivers
level?
and Carr, if I was just like lining up quarterbacks, are probably as good as you could
Harbaugh has a natty. He obviously has been to a Super Bowl. He's had success. Herbert, as a quarterback, while he's not a guy that has had playoff success, he's not a bottom-tier quarterback. He's a top 12, 15 quarterback in the league. You go to Denver. Peyton's won a Super Bowl. Their quarterback, I think, is a top 15 to 17 quarterback in the league. His ceiling, to me, is around that. But they have a good coach. Go to Seattle. Go to Vegas. They bring over Pete Carroll from Seattle. He, of course, has the ring. He has Geno Smith, who I also think ceiling is fairly low, but there's a higher baseline and floor on what you're going to get. So I do believe this will be the toughest conference or division, I should say, based on QB coach combos. There's not going to be some team winning 3 or 4 games this year in the division.
I guess that's really the question. I looked up every single year what the division record are under Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. The best year record-wise as far as everyone being in the mix. Not the closest. There was a year where both the Chiefs and the Chargers finished with 12 wins, but the Chiefs top to bottom was 2021. Chiefs were 12-5, Raiders were 10-7, Chargers were 9-8, and the Denver Broncos were 7-10. At one point that year, were 7-6 and lost their final 4 games of the season before eventually, I guess losing it, at least on that end. I guess it's likely that this would be the biggest challenge that they would have. But I think a lot of this depends on what you think about 2 quarterbacks in particular. Herbert, I think the story's just kind of told. He's at least a top 12 or 13 quarterback. It's not a laughing stock, and like you mentioned with Harbaugh, that would certainly be the case. There were still people as of just a couple of years ago, because of the Russell Wilson thing, questioning some of Sean Payton. And, Pete Carroll's not been out of the game long, but his last couple of years in Seattle, there's a reason why he got politely fired out of his job as well. So really it comes down to, how good do you think Geno Smith and Bo Nix are? If this is going to be the most difficult division that the Chiefs have played in at any point under Patrick Mahomes, it is going to rely on those 2 quarterbacks at least maintaining their level of play from last year. If there's any kind of drop-off, I don't think it gets any worse than 2021, although I had to look it up. Because it's like, why were the Broncos? They were 7-10. Who was their starting quarterback? Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, I just think the quality of play at quarterback is higher. Now, Geno Smith, the last 2 years, has not been as good as he was his first year in Seattle. He was
30 touchdowns, 11 picks his first year.
He was awesome. He's not played at that level. Maybe he can find it. I'm not convinced he can, but even his floor is still higher. Guys, the Raiders were starting Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell last year. And you know what I mean? For crying out loud.
It's a big upgrade.
So it's an upgrade there. Now, I don't think they're competing for the division, but we're just talking about top to bottom. Is it a tougher division than what they have had in the past? And I think based on coaching and quarterbacks, it is, not to mention there's a few, one of the best tight ends in football also resides in Vegas. I think the Raiders are probably a 7-win team, but the difference is they're not a 4 or 5-win team, right? So it just raises the floor.
So the worst team being a 7-win team tells you, that there's a certain amount of challenge to the division.
I think we've talked about the quarterback play. You and I are a little disagreement on the exact order of QBs. Obviously, Mahomes
I think
1.
Geno ahead of Bo,
I would have Mahomes 1, Herbert 2, then Bo Nix, then Geno Smith.
What about you, Drew? Now I am curious.
Heading into the season.
As a tiebreaker, which guy do you think is better?
I would put Bo Nix ahead of Geno Smith right now.
But to what you said earlier, it is close. Right? It's very close. I would just lean a little bit towards Bo Nix.
That's fair.
But it's very close. I just think the worst, even if we were to go division by division this year, who we consider the worst quarterback in, let's say it's Geno is, for the sake of this, let's say Geno is the worst quarterback in the division. Go to every other division. What's their worst quarterback? My point is, you can do a hell of a lot worse. Look at the NFC West is a bad example because you've got Kyler Stafford,
AFC
probably
South.
Justin Fields for the East.
So Darnold's probably the worst quarterback in the NFC West. We agree. Yeah. So that one's actually somewhat comparable maybe to Geno. All right. So. Then you go to the AFC North. We don't know who that is.
Mason
Rudolph.
The Browns quarterback is the worst
Browns quarterback.
Okay, so that one. So the AFC West is better.
For now, it's Mason Rudolph, but
the AFC West bottom tier quarterback is better than that division's bottom tier quarterback.
AFC South.
AFC South.
Starting for the Titans.
Anthony Richardson.
Yeah,
maybe.
Cam Ward.
Oh, Cam Ward.
I would still put Anthony Richardson.
It's probably Anthony Richardson. Yeah. I'd just take a chance on
AFC East. Justin Fields, right?
I mentioned him earlier.
Justin Fields.
Yep.
I mean, and you just keep going. My point is,
for the Giants, it's Russell Wilson.
NFC South, it's Tanner Shuck.
I'd say Russell Wilson. That's probably comparable in the NFC East.
Or Tyler Shuck, whatever his name is.
It's got to be Shuck. Yeah.
So point is that the Chiefs division, their quote-unquote worst quarterback they're going to face in division is quite a bit better than 3+, 4+ divisions.
But in fairness, I thought that, like, when we started that exercise, man, I thought that their bottom-tier quarterback would be better than any quarterback in any division. And at least in the NFC West, we think it's comparable. In the NFC North, it's worse because their worst quarterback's Caleb Williams. We'd probably take him still, I think, or at least to be comparable over Geno Smith.
Yeah.
So comparable on that end. So really just the South and the East are the only ones that I'm like, sure are worse at the bottom-tier quarterback rung. Because maybe, like I just said, let's make it about Bo Nix and let's make it about, because those seem like the obvious ones, let's make it about those. Maybe this needs to be more about Justin Herbert. Because if you had the same argument on the other side, Gold, how many of these divisions would you say the second quarterback is better than Justin Herbert? Justin Herbert's better than any of the second quarterbacks in the AFC East, so we're a lock there.
Yeah.
Bo Nix is not better than the second-best quarterback in the AFC North because that's either Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow, depending on where you guys have that ranked. He is better than the second quarterback, I would say, in anybody in the AFC South because that's Trevor Lawrence or C.J. Stroud or Cam Ward, depending, I guess, what he does his rookie year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So far, we only have one division that we feel good about it. I would say he's not better than right now Jaden Daniels, Hurts, or Dak Prescott.
No.
I'm not taking Herbert over the second-best quarterback in that division.
NFC West is interesting.
Jordan Love, that's probably the next hang-up.
This goes back to our debate. Yeah. This goes back to Drew and I's debate a couple years. I think a lot of people
50-50,
a lot of people
50-50.
would probably take Love right this second because Herbert hasn't had a single playoff win. That's just the reality of the situation. But yeah,
better than any of the second-best quarterbacks in the NFC South.
NFC
better
West.
than NFC, better than the NFC West. So, like, he is still the
Stafford,
second-best quarterback
Kyler
in about
Murray, Brock Purdy. He's not. I mean,
right? He's still better than about 2/3 of the second-best quarterback in the league, and so that does add some strength to your division. The bottom end is not quite as, it's just not, there's no true, like, this is a joke. And so much of this is, does Geno Smith eventually turn back into a pumpkin? Does back with Pete Carroll, new system, new team, getting a little older? And does Bo Nix have what a lot of quarterbacks have, a year two struggle? Like, and I'll just point out someone who I still think is a really good quarterback in C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud was nowhere near the quarterback in year two as he was in year one. Doesn't mean he can't be that quarterback again in year three, but like for the division this year, I think there's a pretty good chance that Bo Nix is like 85% as good as he was last year. And if he's 85% as good, they're just a worse team, and they're not as competitive as they were even just last year in this division.
And to your point earlier when we had this discussion, that's the offensive line staying healthy. That's, some of the other things that helped Bo Nix along. Because I remember early on, he was making some horrible decisions. He was throwing into double, triple coverage. Like his decision making wasn't on, and then he finally got there a little bit.
No one had less time to throw in the league this year. Like he was quick. They made, and look, that's Sean Payton's bread and butter.
Sure.
Sean Payton's bread and butter is, what if you held on to the football for all of half of 1 second and we'll just make it work? So I'm not saying it can't work in the long term. It definitely can.
There was some news out of Chicago today with a former Chief, Joe Thuney. We all know, of course, he was traded in the offseason to the Chicago Bears to bolster that offensive line to help Caleb Williams out. And Joe Thuney signed a 2-year extension with the Bears worth $17.5 million per year. He'll make $51 million over the next 3 years, 33.5 of which are guaranteed. And the expectation when the Chiefs traded him to Chicago was that the Bears were going to give him a new deal based off of where his performance was at, and he was entering the final year of his contract. So the question would be, would you have been more likely to be all right with that deal, retaining Joe Thuney and moving on from Trey Smith? There's the only two options you would have had. There was not
there's not an option to keep both.
They weren't going to keep both. I still think, a lot of this comes down to if you are confident still to this day that Trey Smith's going to get a long-term deal done with the Chiefs, then of course it was still, in my opinion, long-term the correct decision. Joe Thuney's a hell of a football player, but you took the younger path moving forward. Now, if it backfires and Trey Smith's playing on the tag all year because you didn't get a deal done, then it was a mistake.
Then you should have just given Joe Thuney
Then it was
this
a
money.
mistake, yes.
Because my instinct is what Brett Veach's instinct is, which is younger player who's a really good player. Maybe he's not Joe Thuney level. He's not a future Hall of Famer or anything yet, but really good player. Reason to hold on to Trey Smith. Reason to pay Trey Smith. Man, that number on Joe Thuney's pretty good. Gold. 3 years, $51 million, only $33 million guaranteed showed absolutely zero signs of regression of play last year at left guard. Still looked just as good at left guard as he ever did. Still look like an all-pro. Still look like a future Hall of Famer. And you're telling me I can have him for $17.5 million and I'm about to pay Trey Smith $24 million? I'm about to pay him $7 million more a year. And you know the way this works. Nate Taylor's talked about this a bunch of times. They've talked a 4 to 5 year deal with Trey Smith from the sound of it. Nate's making it sound like he'd like more of a 4-year deal and the Chiefs would like more of a 5. Let's say it ends up settling at 4. Well, in the NFL standards, 4-year deals are 3-year deals, essentially. And so, I'm not saying a 3-year deal is usually a 2-year deal, so, obviously it's a year less. Only a year left more control, and I got to pay him $21 additional million over the course of those 3 years? I don't know, man. I'd be a little tempted by this one. I'd still lean Trey Smith, but that number came in just right enough that I'd have been, I'd have kicked it around in house for a minute. The problem was
he'll be
that because
33
of the youth,
in November.
I mean, I guess, I agree. But guard, I think, is less likely to show regression, and he showed none last year. It's different than when you and I have the conversation about older players, Gold, where, you can start to see, not the wheels come off, but you can see the dip, right? You can tell the progression's coming down a little bit. Did anybody see anything out of Joe Thuney that made him seem like he can't keep playing like that for 3 years? 2-3 years?
No, but that's usually not how. A lot of times it's not a gradual decline. Sometimes it just happens. And I think he's going to be great for Chicago this year. There's nobody's disputing that. The Chiefs clearly got way worse at left guard. Nobody's questioning that. And but you have to get a long-term deal done with Trey Smith. Otherwise, it was a mistake.
They got an extra. Did they get an extra pick for Thuney next year? Right? It wasn't.
Next year's fourth.
It's a future pick.
Okay.
Fifth?
Okay. I don't remember the exact details, but that was the people were upset. I think that they didn't get a pick this year was the whole.
Because that obviously is what you'd have to weigh is, hey,
the exact details, 2026 fourth rounder.
Because that's what you have to weigh is, well, we don't get the extra pick, but we get to save some money. But the guy's older, so there's a lot of different variables. But
remember, the Chiefs did not want to trade Joe Thuney. I truly believe that, and they've said that publicly. I think it's very.
Yeah, Brett Veach said it's very hard.
They were in a spot where they, quote unquote, had to based off of financial restraints. They had to bring in Jalen Moore. They spent another draft pick, obviously, on left tackle. Juwan Taylor's still making $20+ million this year, 27, I think it is. And then knowing that Trey Smith right now, as a franchise tag, he's got $24 million on the books attached to his name right this second. He's already signed the franchise tag. Hopefully you get a long-term deal done. You can either keep the $24 million in year one of that deal, or you can space it out however you want. And as you said, we've talked to Nate Taylor. Really, a lot of it might come down to whether it's a 4 or a 5-year deal. And of course, the Chiefs want a longer deal to spread it out.
I gotta say, it is like a little. There is an alternate universe where Joe Thuney and Trey Smith get to be on the same team together because Kingsley worked out. Yeah. And that would have been the way better. But look, sometimes you got to eject. The plan at Kingsley at left tackle wasn't going to work. It's not going to work. He might still, and I still think has a decent chance to work out at left guard. But there's a world in which their initial plan of let's keep Joe Thuney around a little bit longer works out. But sometimes that's just not in the cards. We've talked about this with wide receiver and everything else. And I don't know. We talk about this with the Royals too. It's a little bit different in baseball because there's no financial restraints. It is technically, I know technically the Royals have some, but hypothetically, they could just spend whatever they want. They could spend as much as the Dodgers if they wanted. They just felt like it. Yeah. If John Sherman was just like, you know what? What the hell? $300 million. Let's do it. But the plans change a little bit. And because financial constraints are real in the NFL, sometimes you got to make difficult decisions. Thuney one's tough because Chiefs fans seem to be taking this one harder. But they have made other very difficult decisions. I would say equally or more difficult. Letting go of Tyreek Hill instead of paying him the $25 million or whatever the hell.
People didn't like that at the time
either. The $30 million a year they wanted to do it, moving on from different pass rushers over the course of that time. There's been other difficult decisions from the Chiefs' perspective. And for the most part, they've been about right on the timing of those.
Yeah, understandably so, though. I think from a fan perspective, they look at the O-line that struggled, to say the least, on the left side. And then now you're looking at it as, hey, well, the all-pro is now gone, so you're worse at guard, and there's still a question of left tackle. And it's the uneasiness of that and the uncertainty, really, that exists there. And it'll be the number one question the first month of the season in particular. What is Jalen Moore, or I guess Josh Simmons, even though I've told you I'm not convinced that he's starting week one, but to me it'll be Jalen Moore. But whatever that ends up being, what's that look like? And then do they get adequate left guard play as well after the big drop-off from Thuney? whether it's Caglianone, hopefully it's Kingsley, but if he's actually good enough to win the job, and do they get that? Deep down, like from Jalen Moore for 1 year, if it was average play at left tackle, but they got above average or average at left guard, knowing what you have on the center and right guard perspective. And I know people don't like Juwan Taylor financially, but he's an average right tackle. You're not paying him that kind of money. That's why you're not paying him to only be average.
But he's league average.
But he's not bottom 5 right tackle in football.
He is the most penalized player in football.
Yeah, that's been still a problem. Yeah. Last year was a little better, but it still is a carryover for the last 2 years.
Over the last 3 years, there's no player, and he's got it by like a long shot, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
It's not, the graph is really kind of silly. You're like, oh, Juwan, dude. But also, there is a point of like, I do think that sometimes he's being called for it. I think he's just getting picked on because everybody knows he's already like, I think the coach is getting his year and the spotlight's on him. And so the refs are already just looking for him to break a rule. And so, like, he gets it called on some other moments that I think some guys would get away with a gold and don't as a result of it. And that always kind of adds this, like, whole other challenge. There are two things we still got to get to. There's so many things we still got to get to in the show. We got to talk about the updated on the prison escape.
Yeah, New Orleans prison escape update, including an arrest.
There's
from,
a new
inside the prison.
There's a new Jordan Hudson story with Bill Belichick, including one rumor that it suggests she's telling people they're engaged to be married.
I wouldn't be surprised at this point. She has him so blinded. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
There's a lot going on. Drew was reading. I said, hey, Drew, hold on, wait. Drew's telling me, he's like, hey, there's some more stuff on Jordan Hudson, and it's saying, hey, this is how this whole deal fell apart. It's like, who's writing it? Because you always got to ask that question every once in a while, right? I didn't want this coming from, some random
blogger,
Tar Heels blog, right? I wanted this guy. And he said, the New York Times was like, oh, well.
In The Athletic, yeah.
Okay, The Athletic, they got a pretty good reputation for covering sports knowledge. And he was saying that she was asking for part of the royal.
Someone says gold blind. It's called true love. You're right. You're right. It is.
She wanted some ownership she wanted partial ownership of the documentary or wanted to have full content approval.
Full content approval.
Yeah.
Full content approval for someone who just came around.
When it comes to non-football stuff, he trusts her and she is allowed to make decisions very clearly.
I'm still baffled at how
she's suddenly some business and marketing expert.
She didn't just want it. Okay, apparently she demanded she be granted content approval and partial ownership of the show, according to a person familiar with the deal.
You think you're gonna watch it in HBO meetings and be like, "I want to own part of Hard Knocks now"?
Hey,
she didn't get that real estate portfolio on accident. You know what? They can't say no unless you ask. Can't say yes either.
I am baffled at how. Because I think North Carolina also comes across as desperate in this situation of they want Bill Belichick so badly. They want to try to reinvigorate the football program so badly. They're willing to deal with this.
Remember though, the June 1st, all of a sudden it would only cost them $1 million to say goodbye to Bill Belichick.
They're going to pay him $1 million to go away?
On June 1st, if they wanted to, they could get some booster and say, we got to get out of the situation if it got that bad. And maybe it's already there.
I think it is.
And if that's the case, if they got someone that's willing to pony up $1 million, they could say, thanks, Bill. You got paid $1 million for 3 months of distractions. Bye.
Does anyone else remember a greatest of all time?
No, this would be a great fall,
going down like this.
Amazing fall.
This is a very weird end to a career. One, that he couldn't get an NFL gig. Now he's at college, and his 25-year-old maybe fiance, according to at least one report.
It makes more sense why he didn't get an NFL gig now, doesn't it? My goodness.
I have some questions.
Teams had to have known some of this was going on here.
Because
could you imagine an NFL franchise? Now, maybe they would have done a better job controlling the message than a college program would, but still, if he was the head coach of the, who was the rumor a year ago? I guess it'd be the Atlanta Falcons, right?
Yeah.
If he was the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, and meanwhile, I just don't know if we would even know any of this stuff because the NFL would keep it NFL teams can hide it way easier than a college team can.
What? And Jordan would be demanding to go to Falcons practices on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't fly. It just wouldn't fly in the NFL.
Maybe
he's gonna be playing corner
again. Again,
the rate this is going.
Again, and we've learned that she's pulling the strings on this entire thing, and evidently Bill trusts her so much. Maybe she's the one that made the decision anyways. Hey, Bill, maybe you should just go to college, and then we'll be able to run the show, and there's not going to be any problem. We're not going to have to deal with the NFL. North Carolina's going to love you because you're Bill Belichick. You let me go on the field, I get to walk around with the clipboard and the high heels and everything, and I get to be the star of the show. Well, all you do is just coach the guys up. We still have yet to see, to my knowledge, a single solitary play from their spring game or from any spring practice. We have yet to see a single thing come out of that. We haven't seen one.
Bill still got it in the coaching chops,
I'm seeing K-State and KU
I just hope there's some.
If he hasn't done anything, I'm going to get Gio Lopez.
If he actually coaches in week 1, I just hope that there's some humor involved. And one of the audibles, instead of Omaha, it's just called Jordan, and we're not talking about. And they'll claim it's for Michael Jordan in North Carolina, but no, it's actually for his girlfriend Jordan. That would be incredible. Please do that. Anyway, up next, let's get to what's trending.
Nike by the end of this. Too.
That's right. We'll get to what's trending, and we'll talk about Chris Bubich and what he continues to do for the Royals.
What's up, Kansas City? This is Cole Reagans, and you're listening to Cody and Gold. Weekdays starting at 10 on 96.5 The Fan.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Look, maybe you've been working an outside job and you've got hip pain and you're tired of maybe the physical labor that comes with it. Centric can help you get a new career in IT in as little as 4 months.
That's right. Technology is the future of every single industry. Think about it. Like, even if you're not sure what you want to do, there's not an industry that does not involve technology, especially now more than ever. What's great about Centric, they have the relationships that are going to help you after you go through their program in as little as 4 months. How about over 1,700 companies hiring Centric grads?
They're building new IT centers in Kansas City right now. We can walk you through, like they said, nights or weekends or online, kind of what works for you as you look for that new career. Reach out to our guy, Russ. He's been with Centric for over 16 years and will guide you through every step of the way. That's Centric.com.
As you prepare for your Memorial Day gathering, be sure to visit your local grocery store for Gates sauces and seasonings. Both are great on meats, fish, chicken, broccoli, and spinach, as well as hot buttered popcorn, a topping for your dips, or sprinkle Gates seasoning on chips and nuts to add that extra flavor pop. And nothing says Memorial Day like a Gates party tray. Or use Gates sauces and seasonings to spice up your home-cooked meal. So head to Gates Barbecue this Memorial Day. Gates Barbecue. Thanks, with love.
Hi, Mia here at the winnings desk of the Missouri Lottery. So, I wanted to write a thank you note for every dollar Missouri Lottery players have given to Missouri and education. But that would be 8.4 billion notes. So to save a little time and a whole lot of paper, here's just one. Dear every single lottery player in Missouri, thank you for helping us give $8.4 billion to Missouri and education. Sorry, my trumpet's in the shop. The Missouri Lottery. Winners welcome and play responsibly.
Hey, KC, it's almost Andy Reid. Renner Garage Door isn't just opening doors this month. They're opening hearts in support of Mental Health Awareness Month. Renner is donating 5% of all sales to Authentic Life Foundation, supporting vital mental health services to those in need. For supporting this cause, you'll get 5% off your project. Call or visit rennerdoor.com, where quality and compassion open doors to a better community.
RENNER. RENNER. Stop before you dig. Click or call 811. Every dig, every time.
Hitting an underground utility can cause costly damage and serious injury. Contact Missouri 811 online or simply dial 811 at least 3 working days before you dig. It's fast, free, and the law. Safety is in your hands. Every dig, every time.
Stop before you dig. Click or call 811. Every dig, every time.
It's the law. Sponsored by Missouri 811.
It's Taco Tuesday time, Kansas City, and Summit Grill is bringing the flavor. Every Tuesday from 3 p.m. to close, hit the bar or lounge for our legendary $2.50 tacos and $5 house margaritas made with Jose Cuervo Tradicional Silver. Come see us at one of our 3 convenient Summit Grill locations, Waldo, Lee Summit, and Gladstone. Join us for steak street tacos, cold drinks, and your favorite neighborhood vibe. Taco Tuesday never looked or tasted so good. Summit Grill, proud taco partner of the Cody and Gold Show on 96.5 The Fan.
I don't mean to interrupt your meal, but I saw you from across a cafe, and you're the Geico Gecko, right?
In the flesh.
Oh, my goodness. This is huge to finally meet you. I love Geico's fast and friendly claim service.
Well, that's how Geico gets 97% customer satisfaction.
Anyway, that's all. Enjoy the rest of your food.
No worries. So are you just going to watch me eat?
Oh, sorry. Just a little starstruck. I'll be on my way.
If you're going to stick around, just pull up a chair.
You're the best.
Get more than just savings. Get more with Geico.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer.
If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we're improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to RexBuysKC.com. That's RexBuysKC.com, and I look forward to working with you.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea was your best friend, it would be the kind of friend that starts an impromptu dance party in the supermarket aisle that turns into an all-day pool party rager at your place, and you don't even own a pool. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea turns any day into a legendary adventure. It's smooth and refreshing real iced tea with just the right kick of alcohol. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Keep it twisted.
Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
You could think you found your dream home online, but here's the twist. The lot next door just got rezoned for years of construction. Work with the expertise and ethical training of a Realtor, here to guide and help protect you from the surprises you didn't see coming. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors, right by you.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check the GPS directions first, before driving to the mall.
Turn right at the light. In 1,000 miles, you will reach Montreal.
Not Montreal, the mall.
Recalculating. 6,000 miles to Nepal.
No, the mall.
Checking first is smart.
Recalculating.
So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Find what you love and love what you find at Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you.
With the lowest prices for over 30 years, find what you love only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly, B21.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch all the shows from your phone, desktop, or tablet. Your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5 The Fan, KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station. What's trending?
What's Trending is presented by Baker University, where graduates earn higher salaries and land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Apply today at bakeru.edu. We start with the Royals, who got Game 1 under their belt yesterday with a win against the Giants out west. Chris Bubich was stellar again, 7 innings. Had a no-no going for a little bit into the 6th inning as well. His ERA now puts him tied for the 4th best ERA in all of baseball. Tonight, the Royals will send Michael Lorenzen in his 3.76 ERA to the bump. They'll go up against Hayden Birdsong, who's been very good, but with a 2.31 ERA. This is actually his first start, I believe, of the 2025 season. But he's been pitching out of the bullpen very well. We'll see if the Royals can't get after him a little bit tonight. Another 8:45 first pitch right here on 96.5 The Fan. Vern's On Deck show at 7:30.
I think we'll have to talk at least a little bit about how they almost tried to get rid of his no-hitter for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
At least makes for an interesting conversation, to say the least, because I don't know what the hell was going on there.
Massey slipped.
Yeah. Next up on What's Trending, Joe Thuney signs a 2-year extension with the Bears worth $17.5 million per year on the extension. He'll make $51 million over the next 3 years. $33.5 million guaranteed. Makes a lot of sense overall for them and for the Bears. They needed a lot of offensive line help. You and I said this before, but Caleb Williams will now have a qualified head coach. I imagine we'll tell him to watch film and how to do it. And he might have an offensive line he can actually stand behind for a little bit of time. So this is a big year for Caleb Williams and his development.
NFL meetings going on today. A couple of these topics were discussed in March, and they revised them, or they didn't vote on them, and they're trying to see if they have the votes to get it done today. headlined by the Packers revising the tush-push rule request. This would not just be involving quarterback and running back in this scenario. This would also involve linemen down the field and being able to basically push players down the field, which is something we see the Chiefs do all the time. This is expected to pass today. We'll see. Also, Roger Goodell wants playoff reseeding. He's behind this movement. This would mean that if you win your division, you still get a playoff game, but it would no longer guarantee you a home playoff game when you play in the wild card weekend. This would also involve what happened last year. Minnesota, not a division winner, won 14 games. They would not have gone on the road in the first round of the postseason. I don't like this. We're going to talk more about it, but that could pass today. Also, they're looking at revising the onside kick rule. Pete Schrager was on the Pat McAfee show a couple minutes ago and said he does not expect it to pass, but what it would allow you to do, if you were the kicking team for the onside kick, you could have your foot further up the line, which would get you, theoretically more likely spot to recover an onside kick.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think any kind of change to that is a good one, honestly. I think the onside kick, it's supposed to be a long shot. It is not supposed to be a long shot, as in it is impossible to accomplish. I'd like a little bit more than that, Gold.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't get quite to that middle ground, but I mean, I don't think it's crazy to say I'd like it to be slightly more plausible to actually accomplish. That's all. Lastly, on what's trending, the Western Conference Finals start tonight in the NBA. 7:30, Timberwolves versus Thunder for that 6-1 matchup. Eastern Conference Finals will obviously start tomorrow before we see where that goes. NBA playoff ratings are up for the highest ratings in 10 or 11 years. So overall, they've had a good rating system, although that Thunder-Nuggets series probably didn't hurt. That was a great series.
New young stars in the league, kind of helping new names
Brunson
for people.
in New York.
No doubt. Yeah, the Knicks help. The Thunder, by the way, 7.5-point favorites tonight against the Timberwolves. One final thing, just because we're talking playoffs. The NHL Stanley Cup playoffs continue tonight as well. You've got Florida Panthers taking on the Carolina Hurricanes. So we're down to the conference finals essentially in both sports right now.
Those playoffs are too long. They should have less teams.
I'll say
play less games or whatever, but yeah, that's okay.
The NBA playoffs take forever, but I don't know if it's because what we just said, how it's been very entertaining and new teams involved. It doesn't seem like this has dragged on to me as much this year.
Fair.
Is that fair to say?
Been really good playoffs. That's probably why there's more people watching. You're not the only person.
Yeah. I feel like that's been the case. That is what's trending here on Cody and Gold. Don't forget, it is a Tuesday, and our Tuesday lunch partner on Cody and Gold's our friends over at Summit Grill, the proud Taco Tuesday partner of Cody and Gold. You can head on over to any of their 3 locations for $2.50 tacos starting at 3 o'clock today. So check out any of their 3 locations, including in Waldo and Lee Summit. Make sure you head over there. Today's a great day to do that. Go out and grab some lunch today or grab an early dinner. Our friends over at Summit Grill, proud partner on Tuesdays with us.
I've pretty much permanently lived near a Summit Grill.
That's right.
The one I used to walk to down the street in Waldo, and now the one's right by one of my kids' school buildings there in Gladstone. So pretty good. $2.50 tacos, you say. I'm interested in that. Plus, my kids have been asking, they've been, like kids, right? They're always trying to ask to go out to eat or get McDonald's, whatever, right? Not kidding. We were at my nephew's concert on Saturday. He does like the School of Rock thing. So they played they played at the Ship. They played like a real they played like a real bar. Maybe a Summit Grill one day, right? They played like a real bar, and outside of that. And he was saying, "Hey, I want to eat dinner." I was like, "Oh, we're going to do when we get home." And he said, "Life is injustice." Now, he said it wrong. But I was like, relax a little. That was his response to, "No, man, we're just going to eat dinner at home. We're not getting food out right now. We're not going to a restaurant." He said, "Life is injustice."
What was your response?
I laughed. I'm just like, okay, chill. I'll get you eliminated at the bar or whatever. But like,
he's learning early.
You can get there. So maybe he'd like to go to Summit Grill and get some $2.50 tacos. But he felt that we were unjust in our lack of getting him food.
Coming up in about 8 minutes, we'll get to that revised tush-push plan in the NFL and involving the Eagles most notably. But they've changed the language to make it maybe more appetizing, if you will, and not seem like it's a direct target on the Eagles, even though it clearly is. But they're playing the game a little bit, so we'll get there in just a second. But I want to talk Royals baseball because Chris Bubich again yesterday was phenomenal. Yeah, 7 innings, had a no-no going for a little bit. His ERA is below 1.5. I think it's like 1.47 right this second.
Yeah,
he is
tied for baseball.
Yeah, tied for 4th in baseball ERA right now. And we saw him pitch well to the bullpen last year. But even JJ Picollo told us, like, look, they obviously saw signs. They could never of imagine he'd be pitching to a 1.47 ERA at this point in time. And he did say even from an innings limitation, because that's my worry, bigger picture is later in the year, do they have to be cautious with the innings? He said right now, because he's been so effective pitching, he's pacing for 197, I think, innings is what he said.
But probably not as many pitches for the 197 innings that you would think because of how effective he's been. And I think that that's the kind of important note right now. He's telling you 197 is 197. That's what JJ Picollo is trying to say with that comment, is that they're not all created equal. The only reason he's pacing at that is because the man's so efficient. He just can't help but go deep. I think last night, 10 games into the season, 10 starts into the season for him, which leads the bigs, I think it was very clear. We are a third of the way into the season, roughly. I don't know exactly how many games, but we are dangerously close to that. At least for him, we are.
Sure.
He is a legitimate Cy Young candidate. It doesn't mean he'll win it. He went from 40-1 to 32-1 this morning.
Right.
And so, hell, he might be 25-1 by now. I don't know if it's already moving down the list. And so the way I view it is that he is a legitimate Cy Young candidate. And to say that a year after they had two different guys finish in the top 5 for Cy Young tells you, again, bigger picture. We can talk about Bubich individually in just a second because he's the more important part right now. The Royals have figured out a little bit of something in pitching. They found Cole Reagans and turned him into a top 5 Cy Young candidate. They signed Seth Lugo, turned him into a top 5 Cy Young candidate. They developed, and it took a while, but a slow develop of Chris Bubich has turned him into, right now, a top 5 Cy Young candidate. And if that's the way they're going to do this thing all the time, well, then we're you're starting to kind of turn some pitchers around a little bit. I like where this is headed.
Yeah, and obviously the question after that for a lot of people, I'm sure listening, like, okay, what about the offense? And I know that's what we're talking pitching right now. We'll get to the offensive struggles again in a second, but yeah, I mean, there's some bright spots continuing, to say the least, with this pitching staff. It's why they're in the position that they still are in, despite the offensive struggles. And you got to feel better and better about some of the other names that we've discussed in the minors. If this is the development portion of what they've been able to do, not just at the big league level, but now in the minors. And we're going to find out over the next year to 2 years more on the true, I would say, organizational pitching development, more than just at the big league level, and tweaks that they have had with some guys, Cole Reagans and obviously Chris Bubich now. Because, yeah, it's been awfully impressive. 32-1 for Chris Bubich to win Cy Young. For me, it would have to be like a $5 bet or something at this point. My issue with that is there's still a bunch of names in front of them, and it's not like Skubal's pitching poorly or Crochet.
No,
and those guys have the name cachet. It sucks, but they do. And you know that Skubal can do it for a full season. We don't know if Bubich can yet. That's not a knock on him. We don't know if he's
going to be available through the whole season.
And the innings limitation could become a problem for him. That's why he's still 32-1. But the fact that we can have a conversation that he's one of the 4 best pitchers, ERA-wise, 4 best pitchers in baseball, one of the top 2 or 3 AL pitchers in baseball, is pretty special. And it's definitely a credit to him and what they've been able to do. And he was awesome in front of a lot of family, I know, last night, too, in the Bay Area. So that was great to see.
That was cool. And honestly, it just, I take it as anything else, just like we're talking about. I feel really, really good about the possibility of where they're heading in this direction. And the truth is, because of what the text line is mentioning, and I'm not trying to ignore it, every game they win is 2-1 or 3-2, maybe 4-3 if the offense really lit it up that night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to say that that's ignored. They have 11 wins this year where they've scored 3 or less runs. That is unsustainable. I don't care how good your pitching is. You can't win 40% of your baseball games in a year scoring 3 or less runs. Well, thank God they got a guy like Chris Bubich to help ferry them through this moment and these moments where they can't hit. Look, Robbie Ray, here's the truth. You already have offensive troubles. If you're going up against one of the guys who's been one of the better pitchers in baseball, well, that's not going to help. And it didn't last night. They had a lot of trouble. But what we mentioned with JJ, and what still stands out, I think, to all of us is more frustrating than Salvi chasing a pitch up, Renfroe flying out for the 9th time, whatever. Any of the stuff that's been consistent offensive problems. Can they stop getting caught on the base paths? Can they stop leaning off a second, getting caught stealing, running into outs? I think that they have run into 20 outs in the last 2 weeks.
Well, there's 3 last night.
I mean, I don't know if it's probably not that high, but yeah, it feels that way, doesn't it, at this point?
Yeah, I think it was 3 last night. That is the most, I think, because it seems so not big league level type of mistakes. You know what I mean? These are mistakes you can't make at the big league level. It's one thing for us to sit here and say the offense is not performing right and they're not hitting with runners in scoring position. Those are all true, but those are quote unquote normal big league ups and downs, concerns, flaws, if you will, of a team. The base running is inexcusable.
Yeah,
and I understand they're being aggressive, and that is what you want them to be. You want them to be aggressive, but yeah, last night was just breakdown and fundamentals, like basic stuff on the base paths. Whether you're trying too hard, you're not thinking, whatever. That just stuff can't happen at the big league level, and it definitely can't happen on a team right now that anytime they get a base runner, it's like, oh my gosh,
precious.
You know what I mean? It's one thing if you're consistently getting base runners every single half inning or something, and you're like, all right, we'll get another opportunity next inning. You don't know if that's happening with this team. If you get one or two guys on base, you feel like you better capitalize in that moment because you may not get another chance. You cannot give up free outs on the base pass, and they did it 3 times last night.
They just need to be a league average offense with this pitching. That's the truth. That's what makes it hurt. That's what we talk about, like the Chiefs offense versus defense. Somebody pointed out on the text line, right? If they are a league average offense, that's it. And they are not good at any of the small market offense things this year. They've been really bad at runners in scoring position. They've been really bad at getting runs home on less than 1 out from third base, and they've been really bad on the base paths.
Yeah,
and it's like those are the things I need you to do pretty well in order to do that.
The only difference, and I understand the Chiefs made a trade for D-Hop in season and everything as well. Yeah. I think for baseball, of course, the difference is there are multiple ways that they can still improve this offense. By the time we get to end of July, whether it's a trade deadline, we asked JJ about that. He said basically it's too early externally because teams don't know if they're out of it yet, and so there's nobody's trading any corner outfielder right now. There's nobody to go acquire right this second. Now he acknowledged, he said like every 6 hours essentially we're talking about internal options and things like that. So that's the first step, and we all know what that might look like. I think it's very obvious at this point if they were to make an internal change offensively. We all know who we're talking about in potential areas, but externally. Like, this isn't your video game. This isn't MLB The Show. You're not making a trade on May 20th with a team that's only 4 games under 500. That team's not trading you anybody yet.
No. Were you? I guess no. In no way, and nor should they. The Royals are on pace for 89 wins. Everyone else in the division is on pace for between 80, except for the White Sox, are on pace to win between 86 and 105 games. Were we all ready to riot if Chris Bubich's no-hitter had continued after they changed that error? And this is such small baseball. Really fun game last night. Little sad we didn't get to see the what ended up being pretty much the game-winning home run from Vinny Pasquantino because for whatever reason, everybody's TV in Kansas City went out. It seemed like, did anybody actually get to see that? Anybody who was watching I watch it through Amazon Prime. I don't care if you watch it on your phone, through your TV. I'm just curious if anyone in Kansas City, if you were outside the market, I'm curious too. But did anybody actually get to see the Vinny home run not on replay? But were you ready to riot when they switched that Michael Massey, and I got to be honest, that was an error, to a base hit instead, and it took away the no-hitter in the 6th inning. He eventually gave up a hit, so it didn't matter.
Well,
but I was prepared to riot.
Yeah, initially they ruled it an error. That was how they ruled it at the beginning. And I don't know if you're watching on the broadcast. Yeah, I think Hud was saying it should have been an error. I think if I had it right, and Rex and Ryan was saying and Ryan I think was saying it was a hit. I think is what my understanding. I think that's which each side they were on. Fortunately, it ended up not being the decisive hit. That would have been brutal. But Massey clearly slips. He's running it all out. He slips.
And count as an error.
His gloves under it, but he didn't touch the ball. And that was the argument they were having kind of about it. But it luckily didn't end up being a big thing because Bubich ended up giving up a hit. But could you imagine if that was the one hit?
The Royals don't have it's been so long since they had a cycle or a no-hitter. If it ended that way, if they were 1 hit short, let's just say he went 9 innings and that was the one, we'd have to call the league. Come on, league.
No, more.
That would take all the juice out of the no-hitter, wouldn't it?
Yeah. The comical thing last night was more just when the Royals, all of a sudden, the technical difficulties graphic was on the screen for FanDuel. And you maybe were listening on 96.5 or the Odyssey app, but if you were watching, you did not see Vinny's home run until there was a replay. He did not.
Technical
It went back,
difficulties.
and if you were on social media, you saw other people saying, Vinny just hit a home run. You're like, what? Excuse me? And then they finally got the stream back live out in San Francisco, and they eventually showed the replay. But luckily it was a good thing. If it was the Giants hitting a home run, everybody would have been really
if I came back and all of a sudden the Giants were up 2-0, I'd be like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, it was a good thing. It sucks we missed it live, but it ended up being kind of a humorous thing at the same time. Although I don't know what the deal was. It happened like 3 times during the broadcast.
I made sure Vinny knew. I wanted to make sure
nobody saw his home run?
If somebody wasn't going to tell him, I was going to make sure that we told him.
I think what we found out, because I was texting with somebody about this morning, asking, what was I watching on? Was I watching FanDuel app? Was I on Prime? Was I on my phone? What I've been able to kind of put 2 and 2 together so far were just people, if you were out of market and you were on the MLB app, you were good. So if you lived in, someone even texting in, they live in Pittsburgh, they watched it on the MLB app, that app, they were good. It was more of an out of market thing where you were good versus in market. Just a weird technical glitch. Obviously, it does happen, but the timing of it was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's all. It was just funny timing. Just technical difficulties. We come back and we're like, Vinny hit a 2-run homer. You're like, oh, well, I mean, that'd have been cool to see.
Yeah,
well, I eventually did see it. They obviously had video of it still. Not like the time I was in Omaha and no TV was working at all. Nicky Lopez hit a homer.
Oh.
His first
He
career.
got DFA'd yesterday, I think, by who would that have been with Cubs, I think.
His first career home run was at a ballpark where they played one single game in Omaha, a regular season game. He hit a home run, and it was not on TV or video at all. Like, it was just the people in the stands got to enjoy that that Nicky Lopez hit a homer, and nobody else ever saw it. Like, that was it.
Coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll get back to what JJ Picollo had to say about Jack Caglianone. You'll want to hear what he had to say about why this was the right time to call up Kags, and also just the path that he's on. This is clearly best case scenario. He gave some more detail on that. That's coming up in just a bit. You don't want to miss that right here on 96.5 The Fan. But we've alluded to it during What's Trending, and that is today is a big day in the NFL with potential rule changes. We'll get back to the seeding topic, and the NFL, including Roger Goodell in particular, wants to reseed the playoffs. Not a big fan of it. We'll go through the reasons for that later on in the 1 o'clock hour. But the Packers have submitted a revised proposal on the tush-push ban. It prohibits pushing or pulling the ball carrier anywhere on the field. That's where it can impact other teams. That's where they'll make it seem like it's not just targeting the Philadelphia Eagles.
But there are other teams that do push guys, yeah.
For sure. I mean, the Chiefs, there plenty of times. Bink's been texting me all morning, making sure I mention that on air. So,
in fairness, I brought this up.
Texting you too?
When we were talking about this rule, Gold, I brought this up on offense and defense. Like, because people were asking the questions like, can I push a fellow left guard behind his back?
Under this revised plan, the answer is no. But no, Bink's been texting me about
he thinks
how the Chiefs push players extra yards down the field, it would affect them. I don't agree that it affects them. I just said I don't know if it's the most riveting radio conversation to talk about guard and center placement down the field and stuff. But as far as the rule itself, this seems like it's going to pass, and that it's the tush push is going to be banned. And I'm guessing Eagles fans are just going to embrace it and say, they had to make a rule change to stop us from being great.
I guess here's part of the question with going with this rule change is, it feels like it's only impacting the offense and in the negative, and that's not normally the way it works. Because they're not saying you can't, tackle as a unit. So hypothetically, even though I'm not pushing the tackler in the back, I'm going up to also tackle this player. I am in a way using their force and my force together in order to stop the ball runner and what they're saying, ball carrier. And what they're saying is, you can't do that on offense, though. You can't work as a group on that side of the ball. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's an attractive play. I don't really care if they got rid of it. I actually don't like that it's expanding. But at the same time, I understand, should I be able to push or pull anybody on the field? I don't know.
I think the revised part is so they get more teams on board, because people did not want it to mean it was just, targeted only at the Eagles. Yeah, my whole thing has been, and I understand there's other boring plays in sports and we don't ban them, but I'm just telling you, the tush push is one of the worst aesthetic plays to watch in sports. It is boring as hell. It just is. By the way, 33 of Jalen Hurts' 55 career rushing touchdowns have come via the tush push. So it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's an MVP mover, man. That is
33 of his 55. Yep.
This is something
something tells me I handed to Saquon, and there's going to be a pretty good success rate there. But
I mean, and Jalen Hurts is strong enough too, where even if he just sneaks it himself, I mean,
they can do a normal QB sneak and probably have a lot of success.
Yeah,
but it's not. We all know. I mean, the tush push that has been an unbelievable weapon for that organization. I'm not saying that's why they've won the Super Bowl, but clearly they were doing plenty of other things in that game. They didn't need to push against the Chiefs, all right? But still, it has been a huge weapon for them. And look, to their credit, they've taken advantage of it, and now it looks like it's going to be closed, and they'll have to pivot, and it is kind of the way sports work sometimes, right? I mean, there's plenty of rule changes that have happened that, that have, along the course of history that have benefited a team or hurt a team. That's just
make sure you know them, unlike Kyle Shanahan.
That's right.
When the rules change, just make sure you understand the rules and you don't get into a situation where you, for no reason at all, decide to take the ball first, therefore give the other team the opportunity to score a touchdown on your ass and win the Super Bowl.
So we'll find out if that passes, maybe during our show. If not, it'll be later on this afternoon. Up next, we'll get to the random question of the day and what JJ Picollo told us about Cags and why now's the right time for them to promote them to AAA.
Cody and Gold, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. Follow the station on Instagram for ticket giveaways and behind-the-scenes content from the show at The Fan 965.
Everyone in Kansas City last night was certainly familiar with the extreme weather we got. I had some branches in my front yard. Look, you don't want somebody just knocking on your door and be like, I'll take care of your roof. No, trust a roofing company who has been in Kansas City for 35 years. That's Century Roofing. They've taken care of over 30,000 roofs in the Kansas City area, and that means they'll stand behind their warranties. Not just someone who knocks on your door. You're not sure how long they've been in business, how big or small of a company they are. They're just trying to, catch you quick and hope that you can do it. You're trying to work with your insurance agent. I got hail on my roof last night. They're going to look at my roof. I'm going to have them come and take a look at it. You got hail on your roof last night? Take a look. They can work with your insurance company if it's something that warrants a claim. So if you have those damaged roofs, Century Roofing can be the one for you. They have a free impact-resistant material upgrade promotion to help save homeowners on their insurance premiums over the years. And again, 35 years in the business, helping homeowners navigate those insurance claims and filing claim process outside of there. So trust the pillars of strength and go with Century Roofing. That's CenturyRoofingKC.com to book your inspection today.
It's the spring sales event at Rob Sight Ford, and I'm here with the man himself, Rob Sight. Rob, you already stole the spotlight. Now what are you trying to take?
Just your attention, Kevin, and maybe a few trade-ins. Now, we've got up to $14,000 off new Fords with employee pricing, plus our own dealer discount.
$14,000. That's hotter than your Sunday barbecue.
Exactly. And unlike your burgers, these deals won't dry out. We've got hard-to-find inventory, huge trade-in values, and our non-commissioned sales team makes everything so easy.
No pressure, just real help. Even I'll admit it, it's the best place in Kansas City to buy a car, and I don't hand out compliments lightly, or seconds.
That's a fact. And don't forget, we're Kansas City's top-rated Ford dealer on Google. 4.8 stars, nearly 3,000 reviews, and 0 grill marks.
All right, Rob, I'll give it to you, man. You're cooking up some real value over there.
Come see us at 135th and State Line, or visit robsight.com. But hurry, these deals are sizzling and inventory is moving fast.
And tell him Rob sent you. No guarantees, but he might throw in a hot dog.
For over 8 years, QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in non-surgical relief for joint pain, with over 50,000 satisfied patients. People with knee and back pain now living pain-free. Shoulder and hip pain gone. What they're doing is nothing short of remarkable. They're using regenerative cell therapy to restore the tissue in their achy joints. They're using biologic growth factors with robust healing properties, carefully and strategically placed in your joint. It's a powerful and potent way to give your joints new life. The best part, with QC Kinetics, there are no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. It's an all-natural cellular level option with lasting relief. Imagine doing all the things you enjoy this summer without being slowed down by that awful joint pain in your knees or your back. Call QC Kinetics now and learn about these cutting-edge treatments that can help you live your best life. Call 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. It's QC Kinetics. Why do other agents have such a hard time selling your property? It's because they don't know how to price it correctly. But we know someone who does. Dawn Sharp and her team. Experience the Dawn Sharp team difference for yourself. The Sharp Homes team can give you options. Do you want to skip the showings and open houses and go straight to sold? Contact them to discuss their instant offer program. Contact the only agent I would trust if I needed to sell my home. It's Dawn Sharp with the Sharp Homes team, brokered by Epic Realty. Google them at Sharp Homes Team or pay them a visit at homesforsaleandkc.com.
I love a day on the water with friends, but my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis sometimes holds me back. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy.
Teaching music is my passion, but my active psoriatic arthritis can limit me at times. Now I'm treating my joint symptoms with Skyrizi.
With Skyrizi, most people with plaque psoriasis saw 90% clearer skin at 4 months.
Or if you are an adult with active psoriatic arthritis, Skyrizi helps you move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin.
There's nothing like better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZI to learn more.
For more than half a century, contractors and trade professionals have relied on WeatherGuard for heavy-duty truck and van storage equipment, not just to protect their tools, but to protect their professional reputations. Whether it's inside or outside of work vehicles, a WeatherGuard badge means pros can trust that their hard-earned name is in good hands. Since 1968 and every day since, WeatherGuard has been protecting anything it takes to build a professional reputation. WeatherGuard, established in 1968, proven every day. WeatherGuard.com.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6812. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6812. That's 800-575-6812. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
The technicians you can trust with your house keys. Anthony Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric.
Getting the job done right the first time protects your home, time, and budget. This month, get $500 off a water softener and filtration combo. Schedule at AnthonyPHCE.com.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Random question of the day coming up in 15 minutes
Weird.
or so.
I wasn't going to say that. I just wanted to remind people that Summit Grill is our Tuesday lunch partner at Cody and Gold. Proud Taco Tuesday partner. Head over there for any of their 3 locations for $2.50 tacos starting at 3 o'clock today. That's obviously Lee Summit, Gladstone, out there in Waldo as well. You can head over to Summit Grill for $2.50 tacos as a proud lunch partner. We will have a random question. I think you're going to like this one. I don't know for sure. It's real
really?
50-50 on if you like them or not.
Is it a one based off of like you need advice for something, or is
no advice.
Okay. You
Just
think
like
I'll
it.
like it? Interesting.
I don't know.
All right.
You know what? I think the text line will like it.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Well, then we're good.
Okay. We'll see.
Okay. All right.
We'll see.
All right. We'll leave it at that. I have no idea.
It's a mystery.
I have
No,
no
we
idea.
don't always tell each other what those
The
things
way
are
you're
gonna be
hyping
about.
this up.
Yeah, this is where you
Relax.
start to wonder what's going on. You know,
Relax.
Start to wonder what's going on when we start to get to that level of it.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier today, the general manager of the Kansas City Royals, JJ Picollo, joined us. He joins us every couple weeks, right here on 96.5 The Fan, and we started our conversation with him talking about Cags. And we all know he got promoted to AAA, and he, I believe, will make his AAA debut tonight if all goes well. He'll be in the lineup tonight out in Salt Lake City, assuming travel and everything was good. So why now? That was basically what we asked him. Basically, did anything change, or just why is now the right time for AAA?
Yeah, well, to be honest, nothing changed. He just continued to dominate Double-A baseball. It was really good to see. He's, we all know he hits the ball extremely hard, and that's his, superpower. But we started to see some improvement in some of the decisions he was making on what pitches to hit and what pitches to lay off. And quite honestly, the level just wasn't good enough for him the way he was playing over an extended period of time. So we thought it was time for him to take the next step. With AAA, the pitching's better. Pitchers can game plan, but more importantly, follow a game plan better than AA pitchers because they're older, smarter, more experience, and that's the right next step in his journey to the big league.
He wasn't being tested in AA anymore, and
Man was bored.
Yeah, he wasn't being tested. He was too damn good for AA.
Got that road trip in just in time.
Now he goes to AAA, and yeah, there's a real not that there's not scouting in AA, but there's true game planning, and as he said, you got some veterans, some guys that have been in the big leagues before that are rehabbing or they're just down in AAA for the time being. They know how to approach hitters when they get a scouting report and just stuff like it's a new challenge for Caglianone. And but he was just he reached a point where they were not going to really see anything more than in AA. Like, we know, okay, you got it. You got AA. We know you can rake here. Let's see what you can do in AAA.
But I did think it was interesting, like later in the conversation with him, he admitted what we know about the situation, which is if we had asked you 6 months ago what the earliest timeline for Jack Caglianone to get to AAA was, this is it. He was clear, Gold. He said, I can't think of a player in the time that I've been evaluating that we only had the system for a year that we were already putting in AAA. So, that is a really good sign to me for not just Jack Caglianone, but also their willingness to get him to the big leagues at some point this year. Because if they're already willing to be like, damn, he's ahead of schedule and it just is what it is, well, that means if he rakes in AAA Gold, then he's going to get back up. Then we're going to keep going through these progressions and get him to the next one. The other interesting one, and I don't know if we got a clip for it or not, was when we asked him for a comp. Because, that's always kind of the interesting... We all play this game. People will be like, it's always the next Patrick Mahomes in the NFL or whatever, right? And we always get in the comp game. But asking the general manager, I had specifically cited one that Dusty had mentioned to us in the morning, which was Adam Dunn. A career I would take for Jack Caglianone. Adam Dunn hit 240 for his career with 450 homers. So if you could just guarantee me that, I'd probably take it. When I mentioned that name to JJ, he said, I think he's a more complete hitter than that.
And then he said, I'm not saying he's going to be this player, but
we kind of think he might be Pete Alonso.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, oh, Pete Alonso, you say.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, come on, I might as well get on his baseball reference page. What is Pete Alonso doing?
Just look at what he's doing this year, too.
In his career. Pete
Look
Alonso.
what he's doing this year, Cody.
Pete Alonso in his career is a .252 hitter with a .343 on base and 235 career home runs in 7 years in the bigs, including leading the major leagues in home runs his rookie year with 53. He's had 3 40 home run seasons. And yes, this year at age 30, where baseball players still sometimes have career years, he leads the league in doubles. He's hitting .301 with a .408 on base and already has 9 homers.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, that's pretty good.
So a couple home run derby titles as well mixed in there,
Look, he knows. Look, JJ knows and the organization knows. I would just say from the very beginning, they have tried to, and JJ is openly in interviews. I think they've tried to be relax a little, guys. He's still a young player and we're developing him. He could have thrown out a lot of different names and just been I don't know if there's a direct comp. We'll see. He chose Pete Alonso. I didn't say Pete Alonso.
All-around hitter. Pete Alonso's not just a power hitter. He can also spread, as you said, mentioned the doubles. He can spread
strike
around
out
the
as
yard.
much as a guy like Adam Dunn did in his career. Not a true 3 outcome hitter.
Look,
that's why people want to think I don't want Adam Dunn or Joey Gallo. I want a guy who, again, I take Adam Dunn, but a guy who gets all base.
By no means are there guarantees, but look, he was a top 10 pick. He's a top 10 prospect in baseball. He's their number 1 prospect. They should have extremely high expectations and comps and all of that. Does it mean that that's going to happen? No. Does it mean it's going to happen instantly? Definitely not. But that's why there's plenty of excitement, and we'll see how long he needs to be in AAA before he eventually gets called up to the big leagues. And what is going on in the big leagues could absolutely play a role, I think, in how long it takes him to get called up as well. Good, or on the both ends of that, by the way. Where is this? Is his team still in the playoff hunt? Have they fallen off? Did the offense get going? Did they acquire a bat outside the organization? All that could have an impact on ultimately when we see Caglianone at the big league level. But yeah, now we start watching the AAA numbers a little bit, and tonight's his first one, so we'll see how it goes, man.
I like hearing left-handed Pete Alonso. People mentioning Jim Thome and some other guys. It's always tough because when you're big and tall and play first base and are left-handed, yeah, we can all get to the same 4 or 5 players you kind of hope that they turn into, or this or that, or outside of that. And I do definitely kind of get it. I am very hopeful that at some point that everyone regrets being the 5 players that they passed on instead of Jack Caglianone. Now, there are some other very highly thought of prospects who were taken ahead of him, including Charlie Condon, who
number
is
1 prospect for the Rockies, or number 2 prospect for the Rockies.
Who's a top 30 prospect in all of baseball. JJ Weatherholt was taken right after him. He's one of the top 20 prospects in all of baseball. Nick Kurtz.
He's already up with the A's.
He's already up in the big leagues, already playing. So, that guy certainly stands out. But, I do hope that there's some part where they're just oops. The number 1 pick that year was the Guardians, remember? The Royals got all screwed up in the Guardians shouldn't have had the number 1 overall pick statistically.
They got screwed. That's
and
right.
the Royals, we thought all got screwed by getting stuck down at 6.
Well.
And they might still be there. The Guardians took that year Travis Bazzana.
He's a very popular. It's just funny. I know the prospects.
Is he a card?
This is
he
what's
popular
funny.
In the card
Normally, I do not know any other prospects in baseball, because why would you know about some other team's farm system unless you're really nerding out?
The collectibles game.
But in the sports card market right now, the new Bowman cards came out, which are all about prospects for the most part. And that's how all these names are very familiar. These are the names you mentioned, Condon and Kurtz, and all. These are all guys you want to pull out of the packs because they're all their top prospects. Yeah.
Bad news. He was hurt yesterday.
He is, but Condon's coming back from a wrist injury.
Bazzana is what is this? This headline is very weird. Is dealing with a rare injury and may be out for a while. Ooh, mystery injury.
Yeah, Condon for the Rockies had some wrist injury or something. I think he's just coming back.
You know what? Jack's healthy. Honestly, look at that.
Oh my God!
Knock on this this fake wood. What? He's fine. You can't jinx people every time you say words.
Gosh, dang it.
Get to AAA.
Just remember this moment, all of you. Remember this moment right now.
What's
this moment.
my grace period?
Oh, my goodness.
A week? 2 weeks?
It's 2 weeks. You get 2 weeks on the good stuff. You get 2 weeks on the voodoo, too.
So just as long as he's healthy in 2 weeks, I'm off the hook, right? We all agree?
Yeah, my goodness.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Let's get to the random question.
I'm going to be sweating it now.
Random question.
For you, Gold. For you, Drew, over in the text line, 913-586-7965. Don't forget, over on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, we live stream the show 4 hours every day right here for Cody and Gold. You can subscribe on YouTube, pop to the top of your feed, catch the other 2 shows as well. We live stream those. That way you can catch us on there. No reason to miss it. Over on the video streaming platforms. Random question I have for you today is where you would go about creating an alter ego. Turns out, in the P. Diddy trial, it's discovered that he had a number of alter egos for different prescriptions or people he was booking stuff with. One of which was, and I'm not kidding, Frank White.
Yes,
was one of his alter egos that he was using on prescriptions, Drew, according to allegedly, right? I mean, I
when they arrested him in his hotel room, that was one of the prescription bottles had the name Frank White on it. Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. So I guess the question I have for you today is, all right, Gold, today, you're going on the lam and you got to create an alter ego. How do you go about choosing your name? How do you go about it? Do we do the things we joked about on the show before and you are Adam Silver? You can just go with the NBA guy's name. Do you go from gold to a different precious metal?
I think I definitely stick with the metal.
You hold to some version of your previous self. Do you utilize a maiden name of your mother? How do you create your alter egos? I guess what I want to go with.
think I'd say
Stephen King, we mentioned yesterday, had an alter ego he wrote under.
I haven't thought about this, but just real quickly, top of my mind, I would say I'll just move some names around and then change the metal. So we'll go Joseph Bronze. Okay, we'll just move some middle name around.
Bronze.
And then we'll just use a different metal.
No, it's you, man.
No, Joseph
Bronze.
Yeah.
What the hell's Joseph Bronze do?
I don't know.
So like equities or something.
Joseph Braun's.
Something like that.
Joseph Braun's financial planner.
You're in real estate? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Financial planner?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, you talk about, yes, people are like, aliases is what you're really talking about here, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, like we were mentioning Stephen King yesterday. I'm sure you guys have heard this story before, but like in the 80s, he was writing so many books, Gold. His publisher's like, hey, stop it, man. Everybody doesn't write as many books as you do. And so he just started publishing under a different name. Like he just created a different name.
People are saying it was on one of the pill bottles, it was Frank Black, not Frank
both.
White. He had a couple of them. The P. Diddy trial. You've been following this more closely than I have.
Aren't you guys interested in,
like Frank Black was on 2 bottles.
Oh, maybe I got it wrong.
It was next to a couple bottles of
He allegedly called himself during some of the, no, there's one it's both.
Yeah, both. Frank Black and Frank White.
It might just, it's both. There were 2 different aliases under.
Combs used names like Frank White and Frank Black when booking hotel rooms for events he allegedly, of course, we all know, called freak offs. So anyway, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So both is the answer, text line.
Yeah.
Just both is the answer. I think I would go with family names that haven't been used in a while, right?
Yeah.
I think I would go like I can't do Bancroft at this point. Everybody knows it to stand out. And you got to like blend in more than that. But his first name, the Bancroft I'm named after, is Albert. Could I just go, maybe I turn into Albert? I'm getting to an age that Albert plays. Cody, you know what I've been saying for a while anyway. Cody doesn't work in the young man's game anyway. Maybe a maiden name.
Yeah, people are convinced that you're just trying to get everybody's passwords at this point in time. Someone says that
I'm not smart enough to hack.
Drew Tapp or Cody Gold.
Oh.
Oh, you
every
just, like,
once in a
mix up
while,
everyone's
someone
name?
will call us Cody Gold. Every once in a while, we'll get that.
Like we're one person.
One person, yes. Yeah, I've had
Doing
that
this
happen.
show long enough.
Had that happen before.
That's what happens when one person goes by their first name on this
That's
show
right.
and one
That's
person
true.
more commonly goes by
Someone
their last
says
name.
Joseph Braun sounds like a porn star. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
It does.
Yeah. Someone says Alex Gold already sounds like a fake name anyway. Hey, it's obviously my full name is not like Alex is obviously short for Alexander on the birth certificate, but Alex Gold is the name. Yeah.
That doesn't sound like a fake name to me.
I don't know.
What's not fake about Alex Gold?
They just think his Gold like last name.
No one's last name could actually be Gold.
Someone says Toby Cap, Alec Silver, and Lou Mixum or whatever.
I do think I would
Mixum.
probably. I think I would keep some part of like the double, like the the double letter in the last name, like they said, Cap, or like that's the one people always get wrong. I think I'd want some sort of like
Toby Cap
double letter so you can keep some part of your identity, Or you just like, I'll tell you this much: immediately eliminated from the first name category is anything anybody's accidentally called you. No Corey over a phone. No Corey. No Tony. No, like anytime you try to say your name,
Tony.
like with a customer service rep, they're always calling like Tony. I'm like, no, Cody. I know I'm an adult, and nobody under the age of 10 is named Cody, but it's not Tony. It's Cody. And
Somebody's
so like
called you Tony instead of Cody?
a billion times.
Tony Tap.
I mean,
That's terrible.
Tony Tap.
Tony Cap? No, too much. You
Tony
gotta.
Tap.
The one thing about the short last name is that you need kind of a either a 2-syllable or a soft sounding first name. You can't do anything too quick. Can't be Jack Tap. Too much. Too fast. Doesn't work. It's got to be soft sounding. Like my brother's name is Seth. Okay, that floats. Or it's got to be at least 2 syllables. I think the same as yours. I don't think Gold works with a short first name that is harsh sounding in a syllable.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
I've obviously thought way too hard about this.
How much do you think about your name?
I don't know. Like you can't be Pat Gold. It's no good.
I'm
Too
with
quick.
you. Yeah, that would.
It's got to be like, it's got to have a little better flow to it than that.
Drew, thoughts?
I think I would just give myself a random last name, but funny enough, so my parents were between Drew and then Titus was
Titus.
Was
You could have
always going to go with a fake name.
We could have had Titus.
So,
we could have had a producer named Titus.
Potentially named Titus.
Titus Nixon.
I'm glad my name is Drew, but so I
My
would
parents never told me like the name they were going to call me outside of that. I feel like they were just running out of choices at the end.
well,
they all seem to have like a
kids.
vibe or something. I can't believe I got the family middle name. I was kid 6. How hard did my dad fight for that middle name with my mom for all those years that it took to kid 6 to get it? That feels like we went through all kinds of different choices.
Drew Burrow, someone says, actually is what he prefers. Drew Burrow.
Too obvious. They'd find him, If he's on the lam, they'd find him. I guess if it's just to like create an alter ego for he's going to start a new
Drew
podcast.
Chase,
And he doesn't
Drew
want
Chase
Odyssey.
Burrow, 2 first names.
Drew Chase Burrow. Eesh.
You would if you could. You would if you
I
could.
would not.
And you can.
I absolutely would not.
It's not too late.
I technically could.
Someone says, damn. Text line's mean today.
Yeah, everybody. What's up with? Yeah, people are a little angry. People taking shots today.
Drew, honestly,
what are you so mad about?
Maybe because you've worked here for so long, I should know. What's your middle name?
Brian.
Did you know that?
I did not.
I feel kind of stupid now. I knew yours, but we were together, a little longer.
Yeah.
Brian.
Brian Nixon.
He doesn't have a Brian vibe at all.
Nah.
Brian. No. Yeah. Your vibe is not. You can't go by Brian. You got no vibe of a Brian.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one.
I feel like the person who said Lou Mixon. Lou is a interesting.
Lou?
It was spelled
How
L-E-W.
old are you? 66? He's on number 2.
Big Lou.
Yeah. I think you got to be Cody's got a certain age attached. Because Cody's got a certain age attached to it. I think Lou does too. And Lou is like a guy who remembers smoking in bars. And Drew doesn't. That's important.
Lou's the mechanic down the street as well.
Yeah.
Someone says, Drew, Brian doesn't fit. They're convinced you would just go by Bry, B-Rye.
Oh, no. Bry?
Jeez.
B-Rye?
That'd be the Twitter handle, B-Rye.
Just B-Rye living down in Florida with his backwards cap.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Skin too tan, B-Rye? Actually, that's more of your vibe than Brian.
Yeah, no. I feel like it would have to give off, because Gold has mentioned multiple times that I fit the profile like the skater profile.
Very much
so.
that. Yeah.
So I almost have to have
you gotta say B-Rye, bruh, a lot.
Yeah.
Kind of tracks a little.
I don't have to. It should be a unique name. If I were to do a different name.
Someone says last name. You could be Titus Bryan. That's your new alter ego.
Titus Bryan.
Yeah, this all stemmed again. More details coming out from the P. Diddy trial.
It's actually kind of that one's harder to follow because it's so.
Well, there's so much stuff that keeps getting pushed out there that has it's evidence, but some of it is also gossip. You know what I mean?
So I told you I'd asked a random question a week ago. What's the trial you've been interested in? I told you the Carolina one. So I'm still following the retrial. They're in the middle of the retrial now because it was a mistrial in the first one. Some of the stuff, this is what always interests me about the court stuff. Some of the stuff is I can't believe it. So the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, or the Commonwealth of the city, they had a witness, an expert witness on cell phone data come up. This guy, this guy, unbelievable. He steps up to the thing and the defense is like, all right, so got your old LinkedIn pulled up and your profile on the website and it all says you've got all these degrees. Do you have any of these degrees? And he's like, no. Do you even have a bachelor's degree? No. He's like, well, I'm pursuing it. How long has this man been pursuing it? 17 years. He's not pursuing jack. They had an expert on cell phone data who's a college dropout who lied on his LinkedIn and can't lie about it on the stand because his ass will go to jail. And you're like, how did you find this idiot? Where did you find this guy? What are you doing? Why are you bringing your expert? You're the state prosecutor.
That expert witness was
a guy who was lying about his own credentials on the company's website and on his LinkedIn.
So the defense attorney very easily was able to just, when they were they
were like, so you're not an expert on any of this, essentially? Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. Okay.
Someone said it's got to be a name that sounds so fake it has to be real, like Dean Green. Titus Bryan is the guy that works the guy that goes to the country club every day to play golf, but nobody knows what the hell he does. But somehow
Titus Bryan does sound like a country club guy.
He has enough money to just be at the club every single day. Titus Bryan. Titus does sound like it just sounds like a guy that's full of himself. It's Titus over there.
Someone said they were supposed to be named Vernon Dwayne. Parents thought the initials would have been bad to have. VD.
That's a good name.
I'm not kidding.
Dwayne. I like that.
If you think parents don't think about that.
You're supposed to be a lawyer if your name's Vernon Dwayne.
The original middle name choice we wanted to go with our daughter, her initials would have been Rat. And I'm like, I'm out.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta change it.
Yeah. Can't do that.
Gotta change it. Got a new middle name. Liked that middle name initially better, but I was like, I'm not giving you the initials Rat. Kids are mean. I'm not going to do that.
Out of curiosity,
so we'll just choose a different one.
What was the middle name going to be?
The middle name was going to be a family name, which is same in the the same in the family. I don't know. Does this matter? I don't know if people need it. Doesn't matter.
No,
I'll tell you. I was like, is this too personal? I don't know. But it was going to start with an A, and it doesn't now.
There you go.
I was like, I can't do this to them.
That is the random question of the day. Up next, we'll get into the NFL reseeding that Roger Goodell wants for the playoffs. I think it's a terrible idea. I'll tell you why. And we've got an update on what's going on in New Orleans with that prison escape.
Fascinated.
What's up, Kansas City? This is Bobby Witt Jr., and you're listening to Cody and Gold, weekdays starting at 10 on 96.5 The Fan.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
We're hiring residential garage door installers at Overhead Door Company of Kansas City. Join the team trusted here since 1927. Apply today, get a call today. No experience necessary. Paid training for motivated applicants to install garage doors. Hiring bonus up to $2,500. Mechanical, carpentry, or service industry experience is a plus. Good benefits include health, dental, vision, and pension. Earn as you learn to service the best garage door customers in KC. Apply today at overheaddoorkc.com.
Hey basketball fans, ready for the NBA playoffs? Get in on the action throughout basketball's most exciting time of the year with BetMGM, an authorized gaming operator of the NBA. Sign up or log in to score odds, boost tokens, and more, supercharging your profits whenever you make a winning NBA playoffs bet. And that's not all. With BetMGM, you'll have access to countless b-ball betting options, including new look same-game parlays, teasers, live bets, and so much more. Just sign up or log in today, and you'll be on your way to exciting NBA action all through the postseason. Get ready for this season's exciting finish with BetMGM. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Kansas only. Existing customer offer. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards vary and expire in 1 to 7 days. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
Big cash giveaway, yeah. $250,000, yes. The next 10 months, GimmeTheVin.com is giving back. Everyone that sells us their car gets put in the drawing, and monthly we're pulling out $25,000 and giving it to you. So, not only are we the top of the market buyer, but you got a chance to win $25,000. That's what we mean by big cash giveaway. GiveMeTheVin.com. They don't call us America's best car buyer for nothing.
No purchase necessary. For official rules, go to GiveMeTheVin.com.
Sell us your car. GiveMeTheVin.com. So easy you can do it in your underwear.
With us is Dr. Christian Hettinger with KCUC, Kansas City Urology Care. What makes KCUC the best?
Hands down, that's our physicians and our experience. We have combined hundreds of years of experience amongst our over 50 providers, radiation oncologists, medical oncologists, and urologists, often practicing under the same roof, who can provide the best integrated care to our patients. We've recruited surgeons from the Mayo Clinic, Harvard, Stanford, UCLA, and many of the other best institutions providing care in kidney, prostate, and bladder cancer. We often can provide our patients care from diagnosis to treatment to labs to scans to medications, all under one roof, all in an office setting as opposed to a hospital. We've assembled all of these physicians that are close to all different parts of Kansas City.
See the experts at Kansas City Urology Care. At KCUC, you see the best in KC. To make an appointment, visit kcuc.com.
Need to sell your house in Kansas City but not sure where to start? Selling a home can feel overwhelming, especially if you're facing foreclosure, a divorce, an inherited property you don't want, or just need to move quickly. But you don't have to figure it out alone. Rex Buys KC is here to help. As a local home buyer, I understand the Kansas City market inside and out. My family and I live right here, so I know the neighborhoods, the trends, and the challenges homeowners face. That's why I take a consultative approach, helping you explore your options and find the best path forward. We buy houses in any condition, no need for repairs, no agent commissions, and no hidden fees. You'll receive a fair cash offer with a closing timeline that works for you. Whether that's in as little as 7 days or at your own pace, just a simple, hassle-free process designed around your needs. If you're ready to talk through your options, call me today at 816-330-6000 or visit rexbuyskc.com. Let's find the right solution for you. Rex Buys KC. Local, fair, and focused on you.
The success you've already had matters at University of Maryland Global Campus because we're a school for real life. An accredited state university, UMGC lets you earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's for prior learning, life, and work experience, or transfer up to 12 credits toward a master's. We offer affordable tuition and online and hybrid courses. No application fee if you apply by May 30th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
This is the story of the one. As a lineman, he does whatever it takes to keep the power on in his community.
and he wants a partner like Grainger who does the same. Grainger offers the professional-grade products he needs, from voltage detectors to harnesses to hard hats, plus fast, dependable delivery, so he can rise to every challenge. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
For more than half a century, contractors and trade professionals have relied on WeatherGuard for heavy-duty truck and van storage equipment, not just to protect their tools, but to protect their professional reputations. Whether it's inside or outside of work vehicles, a WeatherGuard badge means pros can trust that their hard-earned name is in good hands. Since 1968 and every day since, WeatherGuard has been protecting anything it takes to build a professional reputation. WeatherGuard, established in 1968, proven every day. WeatherGuard.com.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
Hang out with Cody and Gold. Weekdays starting at 10 on 96.5 The Fan, KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station.
1 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. We will get to an update on what's going on in New Orleans. Prisoner escape. Yeah, it's kind of right up this show's alley. Yesterday we ran out of time. Give you the latest update. The escape over the weekend. An arrest has been made. Not from one of the inmates that escaped. They're down. I think there's 6 left that are still out on the run. But a individual's been arrested that they think might have helped one of the inmates or all the inmates. So we'll get to that in just a bit. Fascinating. You want to talk about being fascinated by a story. Anytime there's a prison escape, I'm all in on keeping up with the details.
Did you watch the old Fox show Prison
No,
Break?
and people yesterday were texting in saying, hey, this sounds like season 1 of Prison Break.
I'll say the first couple seasons of that show were really solid.
Okay. I'll have to check it out.
I'm not going to pretend like it's just like hit after hit after that. But those first couple seasons are pretty good.
The last time we talked about
First
a
season's
true
great.
prison escape on this show, it was the gentleman, I think in was it Alabama or whatever?
Yeah,
and the corrections officer or whatever, remember walked them right out into, and they switched cars and they were found. Fortunately, they got into a car chase, and then she died accidentally from a bullet. Remember that whole thing? That was there's a Netflix documentary about that. I can't remember the names involved in the whole thing.
I can't either.
Anyway, we'll get an update on what's going on in New Orleans in just a bit. But I want to talk more about what could happen later on today, which is the NFL voting on reseeding the postseason. And based on reporting out there from Pro Football Talk, Roger Goodell wants this to happen. He wants it to happen because if you no longer guaranteed a home playoff game for division winners, then you would be worried about a wild card team finishing with a better record than you, as in 16, 17, 18, week 16, 17, 18. You would have potentially better matchups because teams would not rest starters. And the NFL, of course, wants that. It could create some better matchups even in the postseason. I know why the league might be interested. I think it's a terrible idea. I just fundamentally, and I'm against the idea that if you don't win your division, it doesn't give you a home game. I think it's crazy. And I understand there's outlier seasons like last year where a wild card team could have 14 wins and a division winner wins 10. You just deal with that, man. It happens. It's sports. But if the Chiefs or any team wins their division, not only are they getting an automatic playoff spot, why are we taking away a home game potentially? That's crazy. That is always one of the marquee things when you look at the season. Win your division. It's not just about making the playoffs. It is getting that home game in front of your fans. It's a big deal, especially for teams that have not been in the playoffs in years. So I can't stand this, but I'm worried it's going to pass because Goodell's behind it.
I guess my issue would be, then why am I playing the AFC West more? If it doesn't matter, why am I playing these 3 teams more? You're telling me divisions don't matter anymore. You're telling me it just comes down to record. So if divisions don't matter anymore and it's just record, other than if you win your division and your record's still bad, you'll make the playoffs in general. But how often is it that you're the 8th best record in football and winning your division? So maybe, and in that case, okay, so it matters to win your division only in the rare case that I have the 8th best record, then it doesn't mean anything. It is meaningless. And I think the couple of things they're forgetting about losing out on, one thing I told you is I think it hurts rivalries.
Yeah.
But like they think it's going to help week 16, 17, and 18 because you're not going to be able to say, well, I got the division and I can't move off the 3 seed line, so I'm just going to stay where I am, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Someone can't catch me, whatever. They're forgetting about the fact that every single year you and I get hyped for some Sunday night football game, some 3 o'clock game that is for the division. The Sunday night football game last year, Vikings-Lions Gold, we were all the way in on because it decided the division. If that was just deciding the difference between the 1 or the 2 seed, I mean, it's fine, but it doesn't have nearly as much juice as one of these teams is going to have home field throughout the playoffs, and the other one of these jerks is going to have to go play a road game against a division winner and have a much quicker, a much harder path, and that game had more weight. Way more weight in the final week of the season. I actually think it kind of takes it a little bit away. I don't love it. I don't love it.
I understand sports leagues change things all the time, and sometimes it ends up being a great thing. The pitch clock in baseball, people didn't like at first. It's been an unbelievable success. There are numerous things, like playoff expansion in baseball, I actually think has been successful because more markets are involved. NFL playoff expansion, not as big of a fan of it, but it's here. It's not going away. This, to me, just fundamentally changes how the league has operated and how fans and organizations view success. I mean, we're spoiled now because the team has won Super Bowl after Super Bowl, but for a while, it was a massive deal when the Chiefs finally won an AFC West title again, let alone win 2 of them in a row, let alone win 9 of them in a row. And yeah, it means that you guarantee yourself a playoff spot. But man, as someone even texted in, if you're a season ticket holder, one of the big perks is you get playoff ticket priority. And so when your team wins a division, you know you're getting to go to at least one playoff game if you want to. You know you're getting that one. And it's not going to happen every single year where a wild card team's going to finish better, but it's going to happen every couple of years. In that year, that can change the entire trajectory of the postseason. It also, as someone pointed out earlier, scheduling-wise, if I win my division, the next year I have to play the other number 1 teams, other division winners. Yeah. But I might not get a home game in the playoffs the year before. So then a wild card team could win, let's call it 13 games, great year, and they just happen to be in a division. There happens to be another division,
I should say. It's last year's NFC North.
Yeah, it's NFC North. And the Vikings get a home game instead. Plus, the next year, as in this year now, they wouldn't have to play as tough a schedule as the division champ they replaced. That's crazy.
Well, last year in the NFC, not only would they get a home game, because of a receding goal, they would have gotten multiple.
Mm-hmm.
They would have gotten home games until the NFC title game, only if the team does this. In this hypothetical, you could not win your division and be the home team the entire playoffs. Come on.
Yeah, if everything aligned, you could. Yeah, I guess.
It's not even that hard. Yeah. Last year's NFC team, that could have happened with the Lions. Yeah. They could have, or the Vikings. Wait, who was the number 1 seed? The Vikings was the 2.
Were the 2. They lost the division to the
Vikings could have, they were the number 2 seeded team in the entire NFC. They could have, or
let's just get rid of divisions, though. I mean, at that point,
that's crazy. Yeah,
I mean, it really would be a point if you were going to.
They could have had home field advantage over the Eagles.
If the NFL passes this, there's an argument that they should scrap the divisions, which would be a terrible thing. But like, you're not far away. Like at that point, we might as well just have it set up where everybody's seeded 1 through 8 or whatever, and just be done with it.
Last year, the Chargers would have gotten and look, the thing is, like, for me, we're splitting hairs if it's 1 game. Winning your division to me is winning your division and finishing 10-7 is more impressive than going 11-6 and not winning it.
I agree.
I think that's part of where like the division is. And I told you, my plan's too complicated, admittedly. What I would do is just, in the extreme circumstances, make a revision. As in, last year, there were 2 10-team division winners, and the Vikings were 4 games better than them. In the case that I'm 4 games better than you, okay, maybe I get a home game. I would make an example for the extreme circumstances where it does seem patently kind of unfair that I went through all this trouble. I won 14 games, and because I just happened to be playing in the best division in football, this year's not the year. But like on the AFC side, we're talking about making 1 switch. Other than that, the 3 best teams, the Chiefs, Bills, and the Ravens, all won their division. So why are we making an exception for the 11-6 Chargers team versus a 10-7 Texans team? More often than that, not Gold, I'm going to guess that that's the case. And instead, we're making the Texans go on the road, but why? But why? You know, like for 1 game, it doesn't seem worth it to me. I'm kind of with you. I think that there's a way where you could please both sides, but having to go in there and explain it, again, I think my plan doesn't work because having to go in there and explain it to people's nuts. Like having to explain like, well, no, it's only if
They're 3 wins better. Yeah,
it's like explaining NFL tiebreakers, but for the whole damn season. And it's not worth it at that
So
point.
we'll find out. I hope this doesn't pass, but if Roger Goodell is behind it, usually I feel like that means other owners are behind it, and they'll find the votes to make it happen.
It just screams. It's just something on the text line mentions. It kind of feels like they're trying to create a college football problem.
Yeah.
It feels like they're trying. By trying, I don't know if they think that it's better exactly, or for the exact reasons why they think it would be better in the long run, but it feels like it creates more issues and more problems than it does a solution to a seating issue. Or
Like one big question I have, right, based on this is, how you doing tiebreakers? All right, so let's say the first 2 teams are the first 2 teams, but records 3, 4, 5 all have 11 wins. Is the division the first tiebreaker? It obviously should be. It is more important.
Mm-hmm.
If I won my division, I'm presuming that's tiebreaker 1. It should be, right? Maybe, or is it? Or is it conference record?
This
or
is why the divisions would almost need to go away.
Yeah.
Well, at that point, though, then what would it be?
You just kill natural rivalries.
Because I think that the thing with divisional record, though, is that the tiebreaker fits where they go head to head, and then you go. I think it's conference or is it division after that.
I think it's conference record after overall record. Right?
I mean, the way
I believe conference or
something.
So
like
I think that
like opponents. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to know these all every time just to do playoff seeding.
So I think the way that it goes now is probably not that it's okay to get rid of divisions, but in terms of how the tiebreakers work currently, losing the divisions wouldn't necessarily destroy how tiebreakers are resolved, I guess, if you go off a head-to-head and then you go conference
I hope they
record.
just table this thing and try to talk it out more, and we wait till we just, push this one or kick this one, I should say, down the road a little bit. We'll find out. If it passes today, I can promise you we'll be talking about it again tomorrow. Maybe there's some revision. Maybe there is some more detailed stipulations, Cody, to make it seem a little bit more, equitable. But you don't need to mess with this. This is one thing that it's not really a problem. Every 5 to 10 years, there's weird occurrence where a team that wins their division wins 9 or 10, and there's some wild card team wins 13. We're like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy. Well, you know what that team can do? They can go to that team's house and kick their ass in the wild card weekend and go like that's just the way it works.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, So it doesn't make any sense, and it brings up a lot of other questions that the text line is fairly doing, like, are you doing this to eventually set up neutral site? Be like, you know what? Let's take all the guesswork out of it.
That was my fear during
and
COVID,
the NFC
remember?
and AFC title games will be neutral site games to take all of the guesswork out of this.
Yeah, that was my concern, not during COVID, but the what's his name? Oh my gosh, why am I forgetting his name? Damar Hamlin's situation where they because of the tiebreaker issues in one less game, and I was like, oh, I'm worried that now they're gonna realize they can play these games potentially on neutral sites in the future if we're going to make changes like this. So fortunately, that hasn't happened. Down in New Orleans, you guys probably are well aware of the story by now. It happened over the weekend where there were 10 inmates that escaped from a jail in New Orleans. On Friday morning is when they discovered them, but they basically escaped through a hole in this jail cell behind a toilet. The toilet was removed, and 10 inmates got out. They have caught multiple inmates already, but there are still, at last check, 6 on the run somewhere. Maybe still in New Orleans. I still find it hard to believe that they got that far from New Orleans at this point in time. But there was an arrest today. I guess they found out, they believe, that a maintenance worker helped these guys escape. So a gentleman, 33-year-old maintenance worker, was arrested today, charged with 10 counts of principal to simple escape and malfeasance in office. He, quote, admitted to agents that one of the escapees advised him to turn the water off in the cell where the inmates escaped from. Instead of reporting the inmate, he turned the water off as directed, allowing the inmates to carry out their scheme. So the toilet, obviously, water would have gone everywhere if there was still water running. Why this maintenance worker agreed to help them, they obviously don't know the answer to that yet. Who knows? They're continuing to investigate. But one of the inmates that got caught already was caught underneath a car. We mentioned that yesterday in a parking garage right there on Bourbon Street. The other one went on Instagram Live to let people know, his buddies know, that he was out, which just, nobody ever thought there were smart criminals. But
Instagram Live, that's the last place you'd find me. I'd have
you quickly got to a phone.
Joseph Bronze. You wouldn't even have an Instagram.
Yeah, you quickly got to a phone and logged into your Instagram to go on Instagram Live. Crazy. How much longer do you think these guys are out?
Dude.
How much longer? There's 6 inmates still out there, escapees. don't believe they're all like out of state or something. I just don't think that's realistic. We always think that these people get so far away. They just, in this situation, I doubt it. They're probably still hiding out in New Orleans somewhere. My guess is another 1 or 2 are going to get caught in the next 3 days. This time next week, maybe there's 1 or 2 left that haven't been caught. They got federal authorities involved. They're tracking these guys.
All caught within about 60 days.
None of them seem to be all that smart based on one of them hopping on Instagram Live. So I wonder if this time next week there's like 1 left that's not behind bars again. The hole they escaped out of looks. I still don't know how they got out of even that behind the toilet. You've seen the photo, right?
Yeah, it's.
How did they fit through that?
I don't know, man.
Like it's the Shawshank Redemption crap.
Everyone was, when you're determined to get out of jail.
They said they used blankets to go over the like barbed wire outside, because otherwise you would have been all cut up, obviously.
Yeah.
So they used blankets. I mean, they had this thing planned out.
Don't they have like stands up there? Motion detector? Like, I guess part of this is
I don't know.
With all the
Obviously
technology
not.
we
Obviously
have
not.
in this world, I'm surprised people can still escape
I
from
think
prison.
based on what some of those in charge of the prison said in like some news story I watched yesterday is that much like a lot of prisons, I guess they need plenty of renovation and modernizing, and it costs obviously a ton of money to do that. And these places are run down. And remember, this is a jail. This wasn't they had not been transferred to a more secure facility. This was a parish jail.
Is it wrong to be critical of their spelling error?
Their
grammatical error. So they put
the
2
criminals?
easy LOL. They put 2.
Yeah, I'm sure they were checking their grammar on the way out.
I mean, you could spell if you're going to mock the cops on the way out. I think a quick
spoiler. The guy's in there.
Spell check.
The guy's in there for murder. A few of them, by the way. I'm sure they aren't exactly the smartest people in the world. So
I'm going to guess at least half of them were caught by the end of 2 weeks. Because
you're giving them 2 weeks. See, I think all but 1 or 2 were caught by this time next week.
Okay.
Do you think any of them get out for good? Like they're gone?
No,
DB Cooper, they're just like gone forever.
I'm just asking.
These
When's
guys
the last escaped prisoner that just escaped forever. I guess
they're not just getting away with it. No, absolutely not. Even if it took 2 months, this was the conversation. We had this conversation about that inmate and the corrections facility officer or whatever a couple of years ago. The one I mentioned earlier from the Netflix doc, where we were having this convo, and I think Drew, I don't know if you were our producer at the time, our old producer and Cody, you guys were convinced they were on a boat to Mexico or Cuba. I'm like, no, and they were a state up in Tennessee or whatever at some podunk motel.
But they did get away for like a month or 2, didn't they?
No, it was like 3 weeks.
It was only a couple weeks,
wasn't it? 3 or 4 weeks.
I mean, hell, Cheesaholic was out on the run for like a year, but he also
it wasn't even a full year for him.
But also, we talked
it wasn't
about
even
this.
a full year for him.
And I think the
he also
sheriff's
had
deputy
access to a lot of money.
Well, and the sheriff's deputy had pointed out, like, or whoever it was, like one of the people who like handles that kind of stuff, they had pointed out to us.
The bondsman.
There's a priority thing. He, like there's
the
a priority
marshals,
thing.
the marshal's office.
The marshals, some people, like murderers out on the loose, they're going to put a lot of priority into finding people who had murdered people and then are out to go. So, like, I mean, that part of it is certainly at least a little bit. No, I don't think that they're.
Someone says, "Go down the DB Cooper rabbit hole, please."
I can't. I mean, that's just like one of the all-time like people mention it.
Someone says to escape it all means they can't be dumb. Oh, I disagree. I disagree. Look, this isn't what's his name. This isn't like the movie The Fugitive, where like what's his name, the character in The Fugitive that's super smart and Kimball. This isn't these guys are not.
I was trying to think of him say it like he's
Kimball.
It's like Kimball.
Let's not act like
Richard
no,
Kimball.
I firmly disagree. Just because they told a maintenance worker to shut off the water and they moved the toilet does not mean they're geniuses now. Sorry, no.
I mean, they were risking their whole
disagree.
escape by just asking the guy to shut the water off.
That's right.
Although there's rumors that he just said like they asked and he did it. They're probably trying to cash app him or send him cash or something.
I mean, a couple have been there for murder. They have nothing to lose. Some of these guys are going to be behind bars for a very long time anyway. So
if you were I mean, I do think if I was in jail for life, I'd be constantly thinking about, is there a way to escape? If you're in for life? Like, I mean, you got to be, I get
again, they were at a count, like this was like a parish jail. This was not some high security prison they escaped out of, all right?
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't like Max.
No.
That would be impossible.
They were not transferred to like the state.
Not without help.
They were not transferred to a Louisiana state correctional facility yet. They were just at a local jail being held there, and now they're under those in charge are under fire because like why were they held there that long, all that kind of stuff. Now everybody's covering their ass kind of thing.
That's a tough meeting Monday morning or whatever time took place.
Yeah, Friday morning, the head count.
Everyone in this room's been in trouble with their boss. That's a tough one.
Inmates have escaped.
I'm not even sure,
Someone says maybe they threatened the maintenance worker's life. Yeah, who knows, right? I mean, they may have known family members. Who knows? They're doing the investigation. But these guys will all get caught eventually.
Yeah,
See
I
how
think
long
so
it
too.
takes.
Yeah, I remind you. Yeah, I'm in agreement. I don't think that there's. I think they'll all.
Drew's
eventually get
convinced
caught.
that
I thought
these
a
guys
couple
are
of
gone
weeks-
for good.
I think one of them.
It's
might
always
be
anytime
able
they're like
to
somewhat near a border. They're like, probably just swam across the Gulf. Probably just swam across the
No
Gulf and
way.
went straight to. I'm joking. I don't actually. think that.
I bet, and if they did that, the cop they probably wouldn't even try to go get you. They'd just be like, "Good luck."
No, they'd extradite your ass back anyway. But yeah, they're not. These guys are. I still think in the same. I don't think they've even left Louisiana. So
yeah,
No. Imagine there maybe somebody's gotten one state over. You better have. I mean, I just. I like to think I've got some close friends and some close family. I don't think a single one of them. I don't think I've got enough people in my life that wouldn't rat me
Drew,
out.
if Cody texted you
Would
and said, "Hey
rat
man,
me out as I
I
was
just
running
escaped. I need your car."
Probably depends on my crime. You know?
Yeah, murder.
What if I told him I was innocent though?
Oh,
and he believed me. Sometimes people are innocent if things are accused.
For sure.
No. See, the way that it would have to work is I didn't know that you were in, for whatever reason, I didn't know that you were in jail, and you're like, "Hey man, can I borrow your car? I need to use it for this." And I was like, and you're like, "I really need it."
You're clearly not close
And
friends
I
if you didn't know your buddy was in jail for murder or
Especially
something.
in this working environment. You definitely know if I went to jail.
Okay, here, yes.
Would you guys talk about it on the show?
I think we probably would not be allowed to talk about you anymore is what would happen. They would probably
You think
say,
that's just
you
it?
can't talk about your former co-host that's in prison.
Probably not. That wouldn't be a good idea.
Yeah.
Probably not in your best interest.
Yeah, I'm guessing they would say, let's just act like he doesn't exist anymore. Probably what would happen in that exact scenario. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll have an update tomorrow if anything new happens. Yeah.
These are always like the smallest things ever in the NFL, but I'm always just like immediately convinced that people are idiots. And like we talk about this in the NFL all the time. I just saw this headline and I think this is why it matters. It's rookie minicamp or mandatory minicamp. I don't know which minicamp it is, right? It's OT, whatever. It's some sort of workout for NFL.
Okay.
Tennessee Titans head coach Brian Callahan explaining why Cam Ward and Will Levis are splitting reps right now. Idiot. You're an idiot. There is no reason for them to ever split snaps at all. Just give all the snaps to Cam Ward, the person you selected, number one overall. They don't need to split reps or learn from each other. Cam Ward can take 100% of the reps in perpetuity forever. And I'm always convinced it's these coaches who are convinced coming from college or something, like they got to earn the Buckeye sticker or something stupid. And it's got to be like this dumb, they got to earn their stripe stuff. Now, he earned it by being the number one overall pick. Just give him the snaps. And it drives me crazy. Every year, some team mishandles some quarterback in the dumbest conceivable way.
So I agree with you. By the time they get to training camp, there's no reason. I think the argument right this second, literally like 3 weeks after being drafted, is he doesn't know the damn offense yet. Let him have someone that knows the offense. Watch him do a rep. He follows them. I think this early, I don't have a problem with it. By the time they get to training camp, I'm totally with you. At that point, it should be 100% full go Cam Ward, and my guess is it will be. Right now, he's probably trying to learn the offense still, and as bad as Will Levis has been, it doesn't mean the guy doesn't know the damn offense. So I actually don't have as big of an issue with this right this second. Now, if we're talking in July, Cody, and they're still splitting, then I'll be where you're at.
I guess it's just like learn by doing. Like sometimes this is not how I think most people operate. Is Cam Ward more likely to learn the offense by watching Will Levis throw a football or by throwing it himself? Even if it has to be corrected.
He still is throwing the ball himself. He's still getting getting no reps.
Half of the time. And I just think the bad head coaches, and I don't know about Brian Callahan enough yet.
Well, he came over from Cincinnati, so that's all you need to know, right?
It's just like this notion of
the jury's still out on him because they were so bad last year.
This notion that rookie quarterbacks have to earn it to prove it. Like everyone
I don't
in the
think
Tennessee
it's
Titans.
I don't know which way. And that's the thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
If it is because he needs to earn it, I'm with you. My guess, complete guess, is that he's trying to learn the offense still, and it's very early. It's still May, and him splitting reps with the guy that ran the offense last year is not the worst idea for right this second. That's all. But if it's like an earning thing, then I'll agree with you.
I mean, especially to your point, Cody. I'm sure that Calvin Ridley and the guys would love to have all the reps, as many reps as they possibly could have with Cam Ward as the guy, if that's the plan. I understand that Will Levis knows the offense, but I want to get thrown the ball to by.
Does he? By the way, I watch Will Levis play football. Does he know the offense?
Yes, this goes back
just
to
real quick. I'm not so sure he does.
I think that's
I'm not even sure he knows where to throw the football. Are we sure he's the right person to ferry Cam Ward through?
So this goes back to the difference of we watch quarterbacks play, and the bad ones were like, oh my God, he's so. You know how smart you have to be to play that position. You know, you can be complete dog bleep And Will Levis was pretty close to that. And you still are a very smart individual to understand coverages. And you're like, well, he doesn't understand coverage. He threw interceptions. The point being is sometimes we act like these guys are just complete idiots if they're playing quarterback and they're not good. No, they just don't have maybe the talent to do it. And there's a lot of factors why they suck. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that Will Levis doesn't know the offense and isn't smart and all this kind of stuff. That's my only thing.
But he might not know the offense well, I'm sure, to your point.
I don't
He
know.
might know it slightly better than Cam Ward off the jump. But they also made a point from the 913 said this coming from a guy who wants a Minecraft class to learn how to play. I was just trying to expedite the process.
Yeah.
You know, that's all.
Up next, we'll get
just trying to bond with my kid, 913.
We'll get to what's trending, and you'll hear our conversation with the general manager of the Kansas City Royals, JJ Picollo, told us why Kags is no longer in AA, and maybe some good news on the timeline for Cole Reagans and Seth Lugo to come back from the IL.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
We know we got some basketball action tonight. Your home for basketball action could be over at Underdog. That way you can play yourself to increasingly bigger boost each way the playoffs go, plus a great chance to make those sports selections on the Missouri side. Sitting on your couch tonight, waiting to see who's going to score, waiting to see your selections. You can make those selections over at Underdog. Pretty simply, just download the app, choose higher or lower than your favorite player stats, points, assists, rebounds. You can mix and match sports, so you could say, I think Bobby's going to hit a homer, and I think, we're going on the other side of the NBA, and mix and match those to make those selections. Missouri side, like I said, you can play it on the Kansas side too. Millions of fans have already won billions. Why not be next? You can play with as little as $1 and win up to 1,000 times your money. It really is a super easy app to use, so check it out today. Download that Underdog app, sign up using promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P, and unlock a special offer for up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code TAPP. TAPP. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdog.com. For more, consult with your play call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncpgambling.org.
QC Kinetics provided amazing pain relief for a former professional baseball player, and you have access to the same life-changing treatments as retired Braves pitcher Jose Alvarez.
I put a lot of stress and strain and work on my right arm, but my right elbow took most of the damage with 3 surgeries.
Arthritis developed, and the pain was unbearable.
It wasn't just pain when I was trying to play sports. It was anytime I was moving the right elbow. It was pretty excruciating at times.
That's when Jose discovered QC Kinetics and the regenerative treatments that help the body heal itself, restoring damaged tissue and providing relief with no surgery or downtime. Jose's message to the medical professionals at QC Kinetics:
my elbow is feeling outstanding. Where were you 10 years ago, for crying out loud?
QC Kinetics is right here. Call for your complimentary consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. QC Kinetics. 816-412-6299.
Do you think astronauts fight over elbow room? Probably. Because advanced tech doesn't always mean more space. Until now. Introducing the Hyundai Ioniq 9. A 3-row electric SUV with over 300 miles of range, ultra-fast charging capability, and lots of space. The all-new Hyundai Ioniq 9. Space in an EV. Visit HyundaiUSA.com or call 562-314-4603 for more details.
Ioniq 9 is available in extremely limited quantities at select dealers in select states only. EPA estimated range based on fully charged battery. For comparison purposes only. Actual range will vary based on several factors.
Get 5 quarts of Syntec Full Synthetic and a MicroGuard Select Oil Filter for just $32.99 at O'Reilly Auto Parts. In-store only. Limit supply.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Honey, it's me, your wife. Spring is here, and our house desperately needs the experts at Powell Exteriors Casey for siding, windows, entry doors, beautiful decks, patio covers, roofs, and more. Get ready for summer at PowellCasey.com.
I'm McCall from Lee Summit Subaru, and we're committed to helping our community through the Subaru Love Promise, like our commitment to Hillcrest Transitional Housing to help solve homelessness. Lee Summit Subaru also sponsors several pet adoption clinics like Midwest Animal Rescue and events each year such as Dogtoberfest. It's all part of the Subaru Love Promise, and we're committed to helping our community fall in love with driving again at Lee Summit Subaru. LeeSummitSubaru.com.
In 1950, my great-grandpa started Gunter Pest Control, and 75 years later, we're still Kansas City's highest-rated team of local experts. With decades of experience, our team has perfected the treatment plan to keep your home free from bugs, rodents, and termites. Gunter protects your home, but also the environment. Our treatments are safe for pets and kids, and our electric service vehicles are charged in our solar-powered garage. Go Gunter, go green.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
My car is making this noise. Sometimes it's like doot doot doot, and sometimes it's like grrr.
Do you have a dash light on?
Oh yeah.
Then we don't have to listen for clues. With the free Fix Finder service, we can read a check engine, ABS, or maintenance light to find the likely fix and even recommend a local shop if you need one.
So you don't need to hear the grrr.
Not with Fix Finder. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our US-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit ConsumerCellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for autopay and e-billing.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. What's trending?
What's Trending is presented by Baker University, where graduates earn higher salaries and land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Apply today at bakeru.edu. The Royals stay out west, taking on the Giants tonight. 8:45 first pitch. Right here on 96.5 The Fan. Vern's on Deck show at 7:30. It'll be Michael Lorenzen on the bump going up against, Hayden Birdsong, making his first start of the season. He's been very good out of the bullpen.
Great baseball name.
Yeah, I think it's Hayden, right? Hayden? Hayden? Birdsong. That guy.
Next up on What's Trending, Joe Thuney signed a 2-year extension with the Chicago Bears worth $17 million per year, $17.5 million per year. That'll make him $51 million over the next 3 years with $33.5 million guaranteed. Obviously, the Chiefs got a 4th-round pick next year for Joe Thuney. Not a bad contract, honestly, for Thuney and for the team. You think about the going rate for guards right now. No real sign Joe Thuney is going to drop off the planet. Chiefs has obviously made their decision to try to get Trey Smith back instead. But Joe Thuney getting an extension to remain with the Chicago Bears.
NBA postseason continues tonight. We got the conference finals beginning. This one out west. And then tomorrow, of course, will be the Pacers and Knicks. But tonight, it's the Thunder hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves. Thunder 7.5-point favorites.
Man,
also,
that's a big favorite.
Big spread, yeah. Big spread. And on the NHL side of things, also conference finals, you got the Florida Panthers taking on the Carolina Hurricanes in the Stanley Cup playoffs. That is what's trending here on Cody and Gold. Don't forget today on a Tuesday, our lunch partner, our friends over at Summit Grill. They're our new Tuesday lunch partner on Cody and Gold and the proud Taco Tuesday partner of the show. Head on over to any of their 3 locations for $2.50 tacos starting at 3 o'clock today. Again, at any of the 3 Summit Grill locations. Earlier today, JJ Picollo, Royals General Manager, Vice President of Baseball Ops, joined us. We talked all things big league, also what's going on with the minors, including the promotion of Jack Caglianone. That's where we started the conversation and asked JJ, why now? Has anything changed? Why is now the right time to promote Jack Caglianone?
Yeah, well, to be honest, nothing changed. He just continued to dominate Double-A baseball. It was really good to see. He's, we all know he hits the ball extremely hard, and that's his, superpower. But we started to see some improvement in some of the decisions he was making on what pitches to hit and what pitches to lay off. And quite honestly, the level just wasn't good enough for him the way he was playing over an extended period of time. So we thought it was time for him to take the next step. With AAA, the pitching's better. Pitchers can game plan, but more importantly, follow a game plan better than AA pitchers because they're older, smarter, more experience, and that's the right next step in his journey to the big leagues.
When you guys drafted him last summer, I mean, if I would have told you then, like the ideal quote-unquote timeline even just to get to AAA, like is this kind of best case scenario for him to get up to AAA this quickly?
Absolutely. I mean, it's, over however many years I've done this, I don't know how many players that we've had in their first full season that go to AA and just really dominate the league and now are in AAA. Obviously, Brandon Finnegan back in 2014 was a different situation. He was a pitcher, and we brought him right to the big leagues pretty much after a stop in AA. But, this is the first that I can recall, and just happy that he's doing what he's doing. I mean, a lot of credit goes to our scouting department in identifying Jack with the 6th pick last year and have a lot of confidence in moving forward and selecting him. And Jack has exceeded expectations. We knew he was good. But until he gets out there and plays, you don't know how good he really is or how long it's going to take for him to get to AAA. But certainly he's on a fast track, clearly.
I know even in the front office, as you get in a little bit of the comparison game, like our morning show host mentioned Adam Dunn. What, for you guys, who do you kind of envision Jack Caglianone, who does he remind you of in the big league levels? Is there anybody that he kind of comps to?
Yeah, I mean, Adam Dunn I can see because of the power, but Jack is going to be a more complete hitter than Adam. Adam struck out a lot. I mean, very good major league player. I think Kags is going to be able to control the zone better than that. Honestly, like what we hope he develops into, and I'm not saying this is who he is, this is what we would like to see is some version of a Pete Alonso. I mean, that's, a left-handed version of Pete Alonso. Pete makes a lot of good plate decision or pitch decisions. He's got massive power. He's turned himself into a pretty good defender at first base. I mean, and coincidentally, those two went to the same high school, so it's kind of weird. But that would be excellent for us, and really, the thing we don't want Jack to do is to try to be anybody but himself. I know that the comp game, we do it in the scouting world all the time, and it's just part of it. But Jack needs to be himself, whatever version that of Jack that it allows him to be the best major league player he can be. That's what we'd be happy with that.
Funny enough, we learned about Pete Alonso when we ripped some baseball cards with him. Were you a baseball card guy at all, JJ?
Growing up, very much so. Not as much here in the last 15, 20 years, but as a kid, I was at card shows pretty much every Saturday somewhere.
Do you still have a couple of things from your collection as a kid?
Oh yeah, no, I do. I got a ton of stuff.
Is there one or two cards that? Go ahead.
COVID allowed me to go back and look through all those cards and kind of file them better, like a lot of people did during COVID.
Yeah, no, the card market boomed during COVID for sure. Is there a card or two that I guess you just right away you're like, all right, this whether it's the quote unquote best card or maybe it just has some real sentimental value or something.
Yeah, I've got a '64 top set, postcard set that there's some Hall of Famers in there, so that set stands out. Mike Schmidt rookie card just because he was my hero growing up. So they're the two, and when you ask that question, come to mind right away.
Let's talk about the big league club. Let's start with Chris Bubich last night. We've already, at some point this year, talked to you about why you guys maybe felt comfortable trading Brady Singer and Chris Bubich being a part of that. But even to this point, he, is a legitimate Cy Young candidate, JJ, based on the early performance this season. What has made him so dominant in your mind?
Well, first of all, he's commanding the ball exceptionally well. He's got above average stuff. He's got 3 pitches, and when you're commanding those 3 pitches, it's hard as a hitter to defend against that. And last night he had that backdoor breaking ball going that really just froze a lot of hitters, and he was landing it very, very consistently. And when pitchers can do those types of things, they got a chance to have great outings. But with Chris, he's always been a guy that prepares well, studies well, very intelligent guy. And, a lot of what we saw before he got injured and then what we saw last year out of the bullpen is what gave us the confidence that we could count on him to be in the rotation. Now, did we expect him to be pitching to a 1.74 or whatever it is right now? Probably not. But we expected him to pitch well, and we had a lot of confidence that he would. I think what he's doing right now, it's really, really exceptional. After the game last night, I think you have asked me this question before, does he have an innings limit on the year? Right now he's on pace to throw about 195 innings on the year. But the real reason why that he's on that pace is he's been so efficient with his pitches, even in striking guys out, that he's getting deep into games. Usually guys that strike hitters out, their pitch counts get high. It's more of a 5 to 6 inning, but he's been so efficient with his pitches that he's getting into the 7th inning regularly. And we had a hard time after the game trying to come up with innings where he was really, really in heavy traffic. He got in some traffic last night, but he hasn't had a stressful inning the entire season. So he's just matured as a pitcher. Obviously we're very happy that he's done that. And, we look forward to him pitching every 5th day.
We're talking to JJ Picollo here on 96.5 The Fan. Obviously, in the last week, you guys did have to put Cole Reagans and Seth Lugo both on the IL. Do you have any indication at all on where the timeline could be for both? I know they're 2 completely separate injuries involving each player.
Yeah, we feel very confident that it's, very likely. Who knows what can happen, during these 15 days. But, right, if we were betting on this, we would expect them to pitch in 2 weeks. They'll get their 15 days. With Cole, it was just really a fatigue tightness issue. It wasn't a re-injury to his groin. And with Seth, he's got a little swelling in his finger that has already gone down. And we expect them to make their starts, I think it's the end of June or end of May, early June, when they can come off the IL. And we would be disappointed if they weren't able to make those starts. So luckily they're minor, and we felt like at this point, this is about the entire season. Let's not push through these things and potentially lose them for even more time.
Because of the off days, can you guys get away with a bullpen game? Is there somebody else in AAA you'd look to? I know you guys just brought in Rich Hill or Avila. I didn't know who you guys were thinking there.
Yeah, no, we'll see how tonight goes. But, we didn't use the bullpen much last night. Sunday we used 4 relievers, but it was very minimal pitches for each guy. So we're in a position to potentially go bullpen tomorrow. But if we're not able to do that, we'll have to decide who's going to come up. And we have a couple options for that. It's just a matter of, I still think regardless, it'll be a day where we use 5, maybe 6 innings out of the bullpen, regardless of who comes up. So we'll probably just take who we think is our best arm from Omaha.
Cody mentioned Rich Hill, so I wasn't planning on asking you about him, but he's 45 years old. Obviously, it's an unbelievable story. Last week, everybody, at least listener-wise, everybody's like, well, where did this come from? I'll just ask you, what's the story behind what you guys see there, and potentially what could that mean?
Well, for one, we had some injuries, I'll say, in AAA where we didn't have the depth in our rotation in AAA that we feel good about, So we were looking for a starting pitcher, and we have a special assistant named Dave Wallace. You might be familiar with him, but a long-time Major League pitching coach with the Dodgers, Red Sox. Dave is a special assistant for us and has a lot of history with Rich Hill from Rich's Boston days, and he reached out to Dave Wallace and said, I've been throwing, and sent Dave some video, and Dave's very familiar with him. So we thought it was an opportunity. It's hard when you need arms, it's hard to get your hands on arms. You look at other teams, they're not trading guys just because you need some pitching depth. So here was a guy that's got experience. Dave's very familiar with him. And Rich was willing to go to AAA. So he's in Arizona right now getting built up, and not sure what the timeline is for him to get to Omaha, but it shouldn't be too long.
Are you ever impressed by like someone's competitiveness? Like at 45, he's certainly earned enough, JJ. He doesn't have to keep working at it. And he's like, you know what? I'll go to Omaha. I just want to pitch.
Yeah, no, that's pretty special. He has no reason to continue to pitch with the career that he's had, but obviously there's a love for the game. He feels like he can still perform at a level that will help a major league team. The other thing that's great about that is, regardless of where it goes with Rich Hill, the time he's spending in Arizona right now, he's helping other players get better. It's hard when you're 18 years old and you watch Rich Hill work. How can I get better when you're watching a guy that's done it for 20 plus years, and then when he gets to Omaha, there's a wealth of knowledge there that Rich has that our guys will learn from it. So there's a lot of benefit to the organization when you have a guy with his experience in minor leagues with your younger guys.
Speaking of Royals general manager JJ Picollo, I want to ask you about one more thing that happened in the game last night. Q gets tossed because of the, I think, correct complaint about blocking second base there from Dairon Blanco. But I've always said on the show that I'm pro like a little fight every once in a while, JJ. I think it brings people to their feet a little bit. As a general manager, are you pro getting in an argument every once in a while? A slight brawl here or there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say I want to fight. I mean, but yeah, I mean, you want the competitiveness, and just the way Q came out of the dugout. I was joking after the game. I've never seen you run so fast, to get out there. But yeah, I mean, players get frustrated with that. That play is a very difficult call for the umpires. Every time we have a play of that nature, there's one team that disagrees with what the call was. I think the umpires, by and large, would love to see that as a reviewable play. The managers wanted it to be a reviewable play, and hopefully that play becomes reviewable next year, because it is the one most consistent play that creates the most controversy over the last several years. But to see Q come out there, we're in a tight game. Players get fired up about that, so there is a residual effect. It's not intentional on Q's part. It's very natural. But I think guys like to see their manager fighting for them once in a while. And that play is very frustrating, and middle infielders can't stand it, and runners can't stand it. So the timing was appropriate.
That, of course, involved some base running, and one of the frustrations, I think, from some fans here, in addition to where the offense is at, is just, hey, some of the mistakes maybe on the base pass. Some of it is it just wrong spot, a little bit of bad luck? What are you seeing from the base running, where obviously when you've struggled to get some guys on base, and then there's been some free outs given up?
Yeah, no, that's frustrating. Fans have a right to be upset about that. We've made some poor decisions on the bases. We're trying to be aggressive, because we're trying to score more runs. Regardless of what anybody tells you, when an offense is struggling, guys feel it. So now you're pressing to try to do more. And last night we ran into 3 outs last night. That we gave them an innings worth of outs on a line drive double play, a pickoff, and a first to third that really wasn't a first to third. That there was no way anybody was going to make it first to third on that play. So we gave them 3 outs. But I think that's a sign of an offense and honestly, like human beings pressing because they want to do more and they want to score more runs. We've always said if we're going to make mistakes on the bases, be aggressive. I'll put those plays in a semi-aggressive, but they're pretty easy reads in last night's case, and we got to be better than that. And those guys know that. It's just one of those feelings when you're coming off the field. You're like, what have I just done? It's not there's no question whether or not you should or shouldn't have gone in those cases last night. It's pretty cut and dried. But we got to be better than that. To be very candid, we got to be better.
Last one for you, JJ, before we let you go. We appreciate the time with the Royals general manager here on 96.5 The Fan. I know we're not even to Memorial Day. That's coming up on Monday. But when do real conversations, maybe they've already happened, about ways that you could improve this offense, whether those are internal or external options?
Well, internal, they're going on all the time. I mean, that is a constant. I don't think we go more than 6 hours without somebody making a suggestion. throwing something in the Slack channel, an idea or two, waiver claims, et cetera. But when they become real discussions, I still think we're a little ways away. There's only a couple teams that are right now probably willing to talk about any of their players. If you're 5-6 games under 500, even at this point, maybe 10 games. I mean, the Tigers, I think, inspired a lot of teams last year with what they did from August 1st on. I mean, they were kind of, left like they're gone, they're out of it, and next thing you know, they're in the playoffs. So I think, teams want to hold their players longer in case you go on a run like the Twins just went on. So I think we're a little ways away from really having discussions that pick up. But I can promise you the internal discussions are never ending.
JJ Picollo joining us here on Cody and Gold. Appreciate it as always. We'll check in a couple weeks.
All right, guys. Thank you.
So that was JJ Picollo earlier with us here on Cody and Gold. As you can tell, we talked about a wide variety of subjects. Simply said, when it comes to Kags, that he was too good for Double A at this point in time, right? And it was time.
And it had a schedule.
Had a schedule. This was best case scenario stuff from when they drafted him to already be heading to AAA tonight. As far as the big league stuff, I thought a couple things were just notable on the positive end. It sounds like, as of right this second, they don't think Cole Reagans or Lugo will have to be out too much longer past the original just IL stint that they're on. Obviously, there's a certain time frame there, 15 days, but it doesn't seem like it's going to turn into a month, although things can change. And then, I mean, you heard it. If he's willing to publicly talk about the base running, and we all see it, it's just unacceptable at the big league level. You can be aggressive, but you just got to be way smarter. You can't. It's happening too often. It happened 3 times last night.
Aggressive is fine. They're giving just straight up free outs.
Yeah.
There's a huge difference between those two things. I also had some of the texts I asked while they were listening to this. They're like, hey, how fast is this compared to Bobby? Jack Caglianone had played 38 games at the Double-A level before getting moved up. Bobby Wood Jr. played 61, so about a 65%.
One's a high school player, one's a college player.
Very different, but not way different in age, about a year apart. Bobby was 21 at Double-A at the time he was playing it. That's how long it took him to get to that level. So he was 21 at that time. And then at AAA, he played 63 games before eventually becoming a full big league player, still at the age of 21. Look, your best prospects move fast. Your best prospects should move fast. The guys who are future or potential, doesn't mean he will be, but potential future superstars, Gold, should move fast through your system typically. Really good, solid players, whatever, they can take their normal time getting through the system under traditional ways. Juan Soto's get up when they're 19 or 20. Bobby Wood Jr.'s get up when they're 21. 22 is young for AAA. He will be 2.5, 3 years younger than most AAA players. He'll be 5 years younger than pretty much than a lot of them too. And so it's important. And like he said, this transition's good where it's like they know how to game plan. More people are in AAA longer. They're around longer. They got more scouting reports. Some of them are pros. Like Jonathan Bolin just got called up, but that guy's been in the major leagues. He knows how to handle his business.
Yeah, that's what they want to see. They want to see him against that kind of competition, and he's got a chance to improve that way. We'll see how quickly he has success if it ends up being a shorter AAA stint or much longer. And there's a lot of factors that clearly are going to go into that as well. But he's on as quick of a timeline as you can realistically expect towards the big leagues, considering he was drafted even as a college player, drafted last July out of Florida. And here we are on May 20th, and he's already in AAA. Like anybody thinking they're dragging their feet. No, this is quick. This is fast. This is still he's forced the issue, to his credit, to get him to AAA.
Yeah, it's not, I don't even want, it's not to defend the organization. I'm just you've covered baseball long enough now. This is the earliest conceivable time I would have even considered that the Royals would have made this move. Go before the season, we did not think May 20th he'd be in AAA. We thought.
In fairness, we did talk during spring that there's a chance that Memorial Day weekend, and
but
that's
that
only
was
a
still
week
like
off.
the earlier end of that timeline.
What I'm curious about for him later on, this is more of a, I don't know if it's something the club necessarily cares